How do we sound?
That's better. Lovely. Okay. Apologies, guys. We'll start again.
Joey's a live podcast.
Yes.
Do I make the same jokes about how we're all good-looking guys?
Yeah, we were just kind of blowing our own trumpets there, just saying how fucking handsome all three of us are.
You missed it, but we were talking some really nice things. Benno, how's it going? First of all, what time is it over there? It's 2 p.m. Eastern time in Toronto right now.
Yeah, it's just set past 7 here on Sunday. Perfect time to check in with you guys. But yeah, I think the other thing about this is I get to it fills my contractual obligations to be able to continue to wear the post hat. Like we do like 2 shows a year on the BWE feed, and I'm not sure if that's quite enough to get past like Way's stringent rules. So I think if I do this show, which is post adjacent because we are post fam after all, I think that gives me more means I can keep wearing the hat for another year.
Hey,
twice a year anyway.
Goldberg wrestles twice a year and he's still a WWE superstar. So I think you're good. You can wear the post hat.
Yeah, we'll have to send you when we do get the frog hats. We'll be sure to send you one, Benno, for sure. And a lot of people have been asking, so shout out to you guys. We're working on it. We're gonna get some, but yeah, we're part of the Post family, and we did get to. We got to finally meet you in New York, and that was just amazing. We've done a few podcasts over the years, and we've chalked it up and we've had a blast. So this is always fun to do a show with you, my good sir.
I also want to just compliment your you've kind of upgraded your set a little since we last recorded. You've got some nice lights going on. I love that on air thing you've got going on as well. Very nice.
GRAPPL logo. There you go.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've been upgrading the studio with a £3 bulb I got off Amazon, and that's purple. But to make it all the difference, got my ROH title in the back, all the important stuff.
You're using purple lights because I'm assuming you're just the biggest fan of 205 Live.
Obviously, yeah, I think everyone is. Yeah, of course, yeah, that's it. But no, it's great to be on with you because like that New York trip, like I don't think I'll ever recover from that. Just that. All of it, like the entire post, because we're bigger than Wu-Tang now. Like it's bigger than Wu-Fam. Shout out to John Cena. Like we got like the full Killer Beast set was there in New York. Just I never thought when I first started that stupid British wrestling podcast with Martin and Ollie that one day I'd find myself in Times Square with you two leading the way, with John, with Way, with WH, the entire gang, Mike Murray.
Yeah, Times Square. It really was the like end game with the bubbles
portal
showing up, the circle showing up with everyone coming back.
It's it's John Away. It's John Away. Okay, yeah, cool. They're post wrestling. Oh, it's Braden and Davie. Okay, yeah. Up next, guys. Yeah. Okay. Wait, is that WH Park here? What?
Yeah.
Benno. What?
Imagine you just like an innocent post listener who just didn't know about it, wandering down the street in New York and just saw all us lot together like this big gang. But it was weird though, because I don't know if you guys were the same. Obviously, I met Davie when he was over in the UK last, but like even meeting you for the first time, Braden, it was like I felt like we knew each other already because we do this video thing. Same with John and Way. Yeah. Same with WH. It was kind of a surreal experience.
It's really weird doing these podcast things, and then not even just listeners, because listeners who listen, they probably know more about me than like people in my real life, because I'll be like, oh, what did we have for breakfast today, Davie? And then a listener heard me say that, but other people in my life might not. So they feel like they know like so much about me that it's not even weird to like meet in person. But when you do stuff like when you're actually doing shows with someone and talking to someone and engaging and going back and forth messaging, when you finally meet them, it's like, I already know everything about you. I don't need to be like, hey, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I already assumed, Benno, you were a pretty... Yeah, I assumed you already know that you're a good dude. So I already like kind of felt like I've met everyone before. Like Andrew Thompson, I felt like I've met a million times. But
what a guy!
Lovely guy.
Was interesting. What a sweetheart.
We do need to get you here one day. Maybe not on a day like today, because it's currently a snowstorm outside. Just as we started this podcast, it looks pretty grim out there. But yeah, we definitely need to get you in the summer. Like you, Steph, the GRAPPL lot definitely need to come to the 6.
Yeah, we'll get you to an OVO fest or something.
Oh, I learned this from this trip. Your listeners will probably know this already about you guys, but like I've got to say to the Poisonrana listeners, Braden and Davie are like the center of the universe when it comes to this stuff. The amount of times it was like, where should we go for breakfast? Where should we go for drinks? What are we going to do next? The go-to line everyone would say is, oh, what are Braden and Davie doing? Like, where are they going? They don't know where the cool thing is. They don't know what the cool thing is to do. Like, you've got that rep and it's well earned. You guys are like the leaders. You're where the cool things are happening, I reckon.
Everyone does say, again, we're definitely tooting our own horns here. We'll talk about wrestling, I swear. But one thing we hear quite a lot. We need it on a T-shirt. We live the gimmick. Everyone tells us it'll be when we're taking someone to a cool bar or restaurant to be like, wow, you guys live the gimmick. Or it'll be the next morning when the person we've taken out will be like, oh my God, I'm dying from a hangover. You guys really live the gimmick. And we're like, yeah.
They're like, how do you feel? Oh yeah, like shit. Just we're used to this. We're used to this.
So yeah, we like that.
That's all I was missing on that trip, the hangover. Like, because it was all very civilized. We had like the post day out, didn't we? We had the nice meal. You went too well, were you, Davie? So there wasn't too much hardcore partying going on. That's what I want. I want a 4 or 5 in the morning experience with Davie.
I definitely feel like we missed out on that. Like, yeah, it was unfortunate because I'd normally be up for a good time, but just felt awful. And there was that time we went to this place, Mum's, after Pasta Lovers. Some people got some dessert, but we were like, all right, are we doing some drinks? And then the waiter comes over and it's like, okay, 1 ginger ale, 1 Diet Coke, 1 orange juice, 1 milkshake. And we're like, okay, this isn't quite it.
Yeah.
And the world's tiniest sundae for John Pollock. Don't forget that.
Oh, the teddy bear drink.
Teddy bear drink that he didn't even keep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we definitely live the gimmick. We like to have fun, and that's definitely something that's part of our shtick. Is, you know, why not? Life's short. You got to have fun. But one day we will have you in our city, and we'll definitely be able to show you around. Yeah, definitely not when it's snowing, but maybe we'll go to some wrestling.
Yeah.
I want to. Yeah, I would come over to your side of the pond because I definitely, that's definitely bucket list stuff for me. But I don't know if I come to visit, would we be going to a Progress show?
Absolutely not. Although Davie did last time he was over.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, G1 Climax.
It is frustrating though, because I do, obviously all my family live in London, and I want to try and see them as much as possible, but it's nice to try and kind of match things all at the same time. Obviously last time that was the Leeds show before WrestleMania, so I need a bit more from Tony Khan than sometime in 2023 and somewhere in London there might be an AEW show. It might be a Dynamite, it might be a pay-per-view, it might be a battle for the belt at some point. Sorry, Tony, I want to book these flights at some point.
Yeah, you lads are getting a rampage.
Battle of the Belts. That's the best we can do, I think. Yeah. Battle of the Belts in a house show.
Yeah, I hope they do announce something for you guys over there, because they should. I hope they announce something over here for Toronto. The wrestling boom is definitely like happening because everyone just wants to go out and do stuff and putting on wrestling shows. I know a lot of independents are popping back up and everything. We've been having fun going to indie shows around here, so. I'm sure it's the same. You guys seem definitely in the better camp. Like you guys got like your Rev Pros look like a lot of fun and stuff. So I'm sure you go to some shows.
Yeah. There's a reason my catchphrase is Brit Rez is dead, but there's still things you can do. It's like the New York trip. You know, the wrestling was enjoyable, but it wasn't why I was there. I was there to party with you guys and to see everyone. It'd be the same over. We'll take you. Rev Pro's probably the best we can take you to. TNT Extreme Wrestling. They do some death matches. I think you'd enjoy that, Braden.
Okay.
So we can come up with something, but yeah, the night out's the important thing.
As a wrestling fan, it's something you've always got to explain. Is people go, "You're going all the way to New York just for wrestling?" I'm like, well, no, I'm going to New York to do New York. There happens to be wrestling on while I'm there, which I'll go and enjoy and etc.
Yeah.
But we did ask you on here today. We've got a lot to talk about. Obviously, we're going to start, and we do this kind of gimmick with this show where we have like a countdown timer for each topic. But for the first one, we're going to just spend as much time as we want, because obviously there was some incredibly tragic news that came out this week with the passing of Jay Briscoe from a car accident on Tuesday. Braden and I were watching NXT at the time when the news came out, and went live immediately after with a kind of not really knowing any details at that point or anything, and kind of a bit shaken up doing the show and not really in the mood to talk about NXT. I'm sure all of our listeners at this point kind of know everything that's gone on. The police filing from Delaware about how the accident took place with the head-on-head collision, a car swerving into the other lane. the driver of that car, and obviously Jay Briscoe passing away, and the Briscoe's daughters, who are still in hospital recovering. It seems there's maybe a nugget of good news there that I think it's Gracie is starting to feel her get some feeling in her legs again, which is obviously fantastic news. But really, really tragic story, and we know you, Benno, you're a bit of the Mr. ROH guy. You've got the title there right behind you, so we reached out. We wanted to talk to you. Obviously, we're going to talk about kind of what happened, but also we want to sort of maybe reflect a little as well
celebrate this
on
guy.
Jay and celebrate. And we definitely want to do a best match ever some time down the line, but maybe when the dust has settled a little. But I was listening to you earlier on the weekend update on GRAPPL and kind of giving your thoughts there. But it's weird celebrity deaths, because I must admit, like, sometimes you hear of a celebrity passing and you see people who've never met them get a little like upset about it, and there has been a time where it's like, well, you don't know them or whatever, and until it's someone that you've, like a Jay Briscoe, you've grown up watching, you've probably seen in tiny halls or had signings with. And I mean, this guy was essentially had match of the year last year. We were talking about him as
a few months ago,
recent as 2 weeks ago in our best match ever show. Like, and this one hurt, really hurt.
I will say, Davie, like, there is something to that. Like, think about it. Say you like a musician or an actor or something, and you've grown up watching, or you listen or whatever, and they pass away. You do feel like a connection. Like, okay, like I was a fan, or I watched you before. Wrestling is something that's so weird and kind of blurs the line of like, well, they're not doing it's all story and pre and acted and all this stuff, but week by week you can reach out and touch these people. They are actual real people who are putting on this entertainment. So when you either allow these people into your like homes to watch every week, or like you said, actually paying money to go see them, not just once or like a few times, you for something like Ring of Honor, you knew they would come to your town, at least here in Toronto. You knew that there would be the loop and they would come. You'd
see them at the merch table, go up, have a chat, buy a t-shirt.
It's something kind of that's what's so cool and great about wrestling, is like it's like superheroes like come to life, right? So for this to then happen and have this, it definitely, you can feel that way, because hey, you may have never met these people, but watching someone every week on your television screen is something to kind of relate to. So it is okay for us wrestling fans to get upset and sad about certain things like this, especially in this case, because it's so tragic and so upsetting with it being a car accident. So yeah, my heart's been that we were in no mood to talk about NXT on Tuesday night, and as soon as we finished, we just put on. Think about it, when your favorite musician or whoever dies, you're probably going to listen to their top greatest hits on your day. That's exactly what we did. We right away we tuned out. We loaded up some Briscoe matches, and we were just like celebrating.
And wrestling's such a weird one, because you can listen to a musician's music, whereas wrestling, it's like, I'm gonna watch this guy try to kill people in the head with a ladder and get hit in the
Cheers.
And it's art, and it's obviously an art form that speaks to all of us in the YouTube room, us three. Like, wrestling is art, and that connects on such a deeper level than other things for me. So it's kind of, don't really know where to start with this, but Benno kind of had a few days to kind of have this news sort of sink in and reflect. And what are some thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's to your point, with the other problem with wrestling is we're used to, wrestler deaths, or at least it became a point, didn't there, where it almost became normal. You see like a Dave Meltzer doing, very, hard-nosed reporting through this stuff, and you think of like all of the deaths, that man's lived through, in wrestling, people he knew closely and people, he didn't, just cover him from afar. I think it unfortunately becomes normal in wrestling. But this one definitely hit me harder. Like you say, I am, back in the day, big time ROH fan, and Jay's got that history there as far as being on the first show, right through to the last shows this year under the AEW umbrella. So there's something to that, but a big part of it is just how tragic this one is. Like I've gone through like the range of emotions, like from the day it happened. Me and JP were actually in the middle of recording when the news broke, and we just stopped at that point, and I pretty much spent the night just like collating news. As with everyone else, you're on Twitter and you're posting your favorite Briscoe brothers memories and all of that stuff. But it's hard because at the same time, this story's still been going on with the tragic side of it, that his two daughters are in the back of the car, and that it's great to see a bit of positive news about the girls. It sounds like that they're heading towards recovery, and everyone will be praying and thinking of them. But that is what's so hard to take. It's a 38-year-old man who is same age as me, with these with a big family, never mind Mark Briscoe and the rest of the relatives and all of that, massive pillar of his community, it sounds like, and just absolutely beloved throughout wrestling. Like I made the point on Twitter, in normal circumstances, when somebody dies and you see a lot of people, talking about the person like they were the best friend, you might think, oh, they probably were, but maybe that's not true. With Jay Briscoe, like it's getting into the hundreds of people.
Yeah,
you hear talk about like Jay Briscoe was their best friend, and they all had these real personable interactions with him. I think that tells you the measure of the man as well, doesn't it? And the loss there, and it's the wrestling stuff. Obviously, we should celebrate his career and talk about all the great the Briscoes did, but it's been hard over these last few days to get over that absolutely tragic human element of it.
I think as well from the family's point of view, like they're not going to have the chance to grieve for a long time, because they're not out the woods yet, and I'm sure it's almost I don't know if distraction's the right word, but it's that they can't like put him to rest yet, because all their focus is going to be on the daughters right now as well, which just awful news, and something we hate to talk about.
Yeah, I really, this one's not even, a wrestler, like you mentioned, Benno, like covering wrestling. It's like, wrestler dies in his early or whatever 50s because wrestling related stuff or drugs or something. We're kind of used to that.
Heart attack,
where this is just feels so bad. The thing that hit home for me is like when the news broke, everyone's, going to see like what was his last post, what was he tweeting or Instagram, things like that. And like the day before, it's like he posts a photo, like the whole family, he's driving his girls to like cheerleading practice. Yeah. So it's just, man, it's like not even as a wrestler or an artist, like this is a human being who's a dad who's, seems so joyful taking his kids to school back and forth. And that seems as if he was driving home from school when the accident happened. It's just so, it's so sad. And I know that in the wrestling community, so many wrestlers have given their thoughts and shared and expressed their feelings towards how this is so awful. And I would recommend givesendgo.com/Pugh Love, which is the basically this GoFundMe for the Pugh family and the Briscoe family, which has already exceeded any of the things they were like the goal for this. But it's so cool to see the wrestling community come out. Like obviously people who would have history, whether like your old Ring of Honor people like the Young Bucks or like a Seth Rollins or stuff. But someone like a Chris Jericho, who I feel like lately is like not just a locker room leader, but it's got to be up there in like just wrestling world leader, because as soon as he figured out, he was tweeting the links to things, he was making sure people were aware of the stuff. He was pretty like, hey, maybe I'm not someone who is known to be linked with this person, but this is a person in the wrestling world, and we stand for our own and for our families. And it's something that you do kind of see. The wrestling business and the wrestling fandom that comes with it can be really gross sometimes and really bad. But when it's on the flip side, something like this, when we kind of need to come together, it really shows, and it does make me kind of proud to be still a wrestling fan in unfortunate times like this.
Yeah, that's it. And there are positives to take. You say, the positive news about his daughters, the coming together of the wrestling community. I mean, as far as like the Briscoes' career as well, like I'm in a way, I'm glad that this last year, people have gotten to see how good they are. It's all well and good. People like me who've been, hardcore ROH fans in the 2000s, or people like, our friend Jordan talking about, his interactions with the Briscoes, and fans like the Briscoes in the 10s in ROH. Like they've got this big reputation as absolutely one of the greatest wrestling tag teams of all time. But it was all in ROH that not maybe everybody had seen. And I kind of feel like a little bit of comfort in the fact that this last year in this the trio matches with with FTR. I'm so glad that happened. I'm so glad that people, just AEW fans in general, I know less people watch those ROH pay-per-views, but it was certainly on more radars than ever before. Got to see that it wasn't a myth. These guys were as good as we were all saying. Like I think most match of the year polls for last year, that match, the dog collar match is topping it, and everyone got to see just how good those Briscoes were. I wish it had gone further. I wish they'd been on AEW TV. I wish that Jay was still around to do even more with that. But yeah, there is a part of me that's something poetic about that. I'm glad that happened, and
it was
he's got some of their flowers this last year.
It was very similar with Brody Lee's passing, where a lot of people were saying, "Oh, this guy, sure, this Brody Lee, Luke Harper was on WWE TV for quite a long time," but there was always that talk of, this guy when he was on the Indies, like you haven't even scratched the surface with him in WWE, and then that had that incredible dog collar match with Cody, and it's as tragic as the passing is. You go, well, I'm pleased they got to have that moment, and it's such a shame for all these fucking stupid reasons that we couldn't have had this on an AEW TV show with the Briscoes. But having those three absolutely like sensational tag matches with FTR over the last year, you kind of feel like they did somewhat get their flowers beforehand, which I'm as a fan grateful for, because what an incredible trilogy.
Again, comparing it to say a musician that you followed, that maybe you've gone to see them at a tour where it's a 100-seat venue or a few there, whereas big artists and touring things fill out like stadiums and arenas, but then after a few years, this artist puts out a single or a record that all of a sudden, like, everyone's like, oh, okay, wait, we've been sleeping on this. And before, the next step, they pass away. And this tragic thing, it does remind me of that, because everyone's been talking about that trilogy. Specifically, the dog collar match. Brody and Jay are having an epic dog collar match right as we're speaking right now, which is got to be awesome. But this past year, they finally broke through, where people were like, if you didn't know who they were before, and you heard, those guys, they're pretty wild, they're pretty good, and you watched those matches, you were probably instantly a fan, and you were probably wondering, why aren't they on AEW TV and so forth. But I do think that the Briscoes were set to be basically the stars for this Ring of Honor experiment that Tony Khan was going forward with. You really were to believe that he was going to try to use them, not on AEW TV for obvious other reasons, but when it comes to Ring of Honor, it looks like they were going to be the one of the heavily featured acts. I mean, the Ring of Honor pay-per-view just a few months back with the dog collar one, they did not announce that match until the Dynamite, right before it, right? So, and then that made the whole card the reason why people wanted to watch it and why people were talking about it. So it's really crazy that they finally got to get their flowers and stuff, but now it's man, who knows where we could have gone now with that. And I'm sure, Benno, you've been to a lot of Ring of Honor shows, but going to those shows, you could go to a Ring of Honor show that wasn't, you're still going to have fun, but most time the Briscoes were the highlight of that. And if it wasn't the Briscoes, when Jay had his solo run, it was good. He was really good.
Whoever they're in against, the next 20 minutes, this is going to be good. I might not recognize anyone else on the card, but we've got a Briscoes match. It's going to be good.
Dedicated.
Any generation of ROH as well. You don't see that anymore. Look at Jay's career. He's a one company man, really. Did some Noah, did some Impact. Had this weird, ROH/AEW, stuff over the last year. But overall, he's an ROH guy. As someone who takes that stuff seriously, you think about the four pillars of ROH or the Mount Rushmore, and your obvious ones are, it's Bryan, it's Joe. I'd probably say Punk. Some might disagree and say somebody a bit more modern, but I think that fourth spot probably belongs to Jay or the Briscoes together, because they were in that. Literally, Jay was on the first show wrestling. Mark was in his corner because he was too young to wrestle, but still appeared on that show. They had matches against each other, in some indies, CZW and stuff like that, and NWO Wildside and other places around that time. But they were known for being ROH guys, and Like literally, you can pick a like from that 20-year run. It's pretty much all quality, and it's like they they start as like these relatively skinny indie boys doing lots of moves with a Z, and having these wild matches to growing into like fully grown men. Like that's one of my biggest memories of them. Yes, I love the Briscoes in early ROH when they were skinny and wearing those singlets that were too baggy for them, and Jay had that killer match with Samoa Joe in the cage that I think maybe we reviewed on the Joe Best match ever.
We did,
Like, yeah, we had that there. But they came back, and they looked like they put about 50 pounds worth of muscle on. They grew into their own bodies. They become like these wild men with the facial hair and the tattoos, and that just developed as years went on, and they became men, and they were even better wrestlers then. Like the list of classics you can name from those years as well. I was there for there's an Aries and Strong match from Liverpool I'd highly recommend. The El Generico and Steen feud right through to, as you rightly say, Jay's singles run as world champion, which wasn't a token run. He was legitimately the guy for that year. Like, it's an unbelievable run, the likes of which I can't think of many parallels in modern US wrestling.
I think that's something that really connected with that FTR trilogy as well, because it was like for men.
Yeah.
Like, if you know what I mean by that word, but it's like just for proper men. Like, it felt like a proper fight outside a pub. Like, all right, let's fucking sort this, that kind of thing, which you don't get so much in wrestling anymore.
Like Jay Briscoe, I remember taking one of my buddies who, like, a WWE fan, you never really watched indie stuff, and it must have been like 2012, 2013, and the Briscoes were maybe even before that. The Briscoes were on the card. And I think it was when Jay had some long dreads. I can't remember now. But my friend, who was not aware of who the Briscoes were, like out loud went, "Whoa, who's that guy? He looks fucking terrifying." And it was Jay Briscoe. I'm like, yeah, like you pick out some of the wrestlers in a lineup. This speaks for today's wrestlers. You pick out a bunch of wrestlers in a lineup and you go, I could probably take that guy. I'm taller than that guy. But if you look at Jay Briscoe, you go, I probably wouldn't want to fight that guy.
It's part of that, and it's something heard Jordan say when he was on Post, and I've seen from other people, is how believable they are. And with this, like, Warner Discovery, like, embargo on them, essentially, like, not allowing them. Obviously, there was that tweet from 10 years ago, but part of me is like, because they're so believable, I can see that being a factor. They see that tweet, and then you see these two scary looking kind of hit guys, and you go, well, yeah, that kind of figures. Whereas I shouldn't be playing what ifs, but if that was something, say, the Bucks said 10 years ago, these wholesome, fresh, Jesus loving boys, I wonder. But you do, and I mean, they used to have like the Confederate flag and all that sort of stuff as part of their gimmick. I'm sure, like, part of that, you look at a photo of those two and you know, they're two scary looking motherfuckers who probably have very different views of the world than you and I. And by all accounts, all the stories we've seen coming out from everyone, from people from the LGBTQ plus community, have said, like, no, that's not them. They're wonderful, like, family guys who, like, have love for everyone and will give the shirt off their back for you. And people can change, people can learn, and people fuck up.
Yeah, and that seems to be where like a lot of people. I watched Dynamite this week, and it started with them showing the graphic at the top of it, but it seemed like a lot of other wrestling fans were maybe expecting a bit more from this show, and that kind of is what seems to be stemming from this whole, well, we don't want to really reference these people on TV, on TBS, which pissed a lot of people off. I understand it. When I watched it as a fan, I saw wrestlers and friends of this person wearing armbands, and I was like, that definitely Eddie Guerrero vibes when everyone was wearing the EG armbands back in the day, and I was like, oh man, like, these people are definitely hurting. This guy was their friend, and it's got to suck to do this. They didn't really touch anything else on it. I'm sure they mentioned on commentary a few times, but they did not really, like, do that. And I think that pissed a lot of wrestling fans off, that they were maybe expecting more. I know they filmed after the show went off the air. They did film this, like, Ring of Honor, like, kind of tribute show, and that's awesome. But we didn't see that at home. If you kept your TV on, you saw Dana White's slap fighting contest show thing, which did horribly, by the way. So don't tune in next week. Make sure you turn off your channels when you finish Dynamite on Wednesdays, please. And I mean, I don't know if you've been following the news, but since New Year's, everyone's been talking about the greatest fumble of, should I start a show about people slapping each other? No, but I'm going to do it. Okay, how do I promo it and get people talking about it? I don't know. What if I slap someone to promote that? Like, it's got to be the worst handling of something. And yet people were watching this and felt, well, that's okay, but the other way around isn't. And I totally can see why people are upset at this.
This is the same, being one of the same company that still has Ezra Miller employed. Yeah. Like months after, imprisoning people and guns and all that shit in Mexico or Hawaii, or like, it's so many double standards. And and I guess it's a star level or whatever. Like they've already filmed this power shit stuff. Of course. Like it's
life.
Powerful men get away with more than less power. You know, it's like, you know, we don't talk about Steve Austin, you know, and Mike Tyson appears and
exactly
a conversation. You know, you can't expect life to be black and white either, but it is strange that like for whatever reason, the Briscoe issue is just a hard black and white issue for TBS. And I'm gonna say, absolutely, credit to Tony Khan for doing what he did with the Memorial show and trying to do, even just by continuing to use the Briscoes, that wasn't a great position to be in, but he gave them a job in ROH and he's tried, and all credit to Tony Khan for it. It's a really hard one. I've had to kind of bottle my emotions on it because I felt very strongly about the issue last week, and we talked, like Davie said, we talked about it on our GRAPPL weekend show, and the issue kind of boils down to, I think, Jay Briscoe's, we can't hide from it. What he tweeted was horrendous. And, I'm old enough to have been around at the time on Twitter when it happened and was one of the people condemning him for it. He was rightly condemned. He was rightly punished. He rightly apologized for it at the time, and he rightly apologized any other time it came up since. It cost him a WWE deal. They took that ROH belt off him early because of it as well. I think he was fined wages, and in the years since, because I think the issue here is that he's not the type to have been performative about it. Like, he's gone away and done the work, and you hear like an Ian Riccaboni with John and Way, and you hear other people in the people in the LGBT community talk about it. Like, this is a man that clearly changed, and it was clearly a good family man. And I think, unfortunately, the world we live in, sometimes we can boil a human being down to their worst moments. We can boil a human being down to a tweet. Like, and that's what it is. And ignore the fact, all the good they're doing, in their real life, and all the good they're doing to other people they know. And not really, I think maybe there's a lesson to be learned here about forgiveness and rehabilitation. I think we've always got to leave at least the room for that, even if, you feel strongly about what Jay said and you're unwilling to budge on that. I think as a society, we've got to have more of an openness to that. And that is the sad thing. We talk about the Briscoes getting their flowers. Like, I can't help but look at Twitter and think, God, if only Jay Briscoe could see this, because a lot of the tweets that are flying out wouldn't have been tweeted, a week ago, because of the controversy surrounding them. And it's just, unfortunately, sometimes we live in this black and white world, and I think the world itself is a lot more grey than that. And maybe there's some positive we can maybe learn from this really horrible experience.
Yeah, there's another, it's such a cliche thing to say, but give people flowers while we still can, while they're still here. Cause I'm sure the Briscoes got a lot of awesome messages from a lot of wrestling fans and wrestlers alike the past year with, the big feud and the matches that everyone were just, gushing over. But, now the fact that someone is gone, it takes that to have everyone go, man, I love these guys. Like, oh man, it's like that with anything, right? Like I said, music and all sorts of stuff. So it was nice to see a lot of wrestlers, specifically a tweet from Effie that was like, man, if you're right, Benno, if Jay Briscoe were to see that tweet now, like he would have really respected that and appreciated that. It's a whole sad situation. The Warner stuff with the Dana White stuff, I'm just like, man, cut that. They should have cut that show right away. They should have just not have done that show.
It won't be long.
Yeah, it won't be too long. Wait till the third week when it completely drops and I don't know, someone gets slapped off their head and gets concussed or something. I don't know. I did not watch it. I'm not like, I totally see it, and working in TV and media, and that's the way the world is with power and all that stuff. But something as a wrestling fan this week, at least, is looking back at like, yeah, this person was an actual human being, and I'm definitely hoping and praying that the rest of the family and the kids are going to come out of this like okay, you know, for now with the whole situation. But looking back as a wrestling fan who have let the Briscoes into my life, watching them for years, I had like streams of memories come into my brain of just like, man, I remember going to see them fight these guys and do all that. And I definitely want to pick your brain, because I'm sure you've seen them live a few times, as Benno. Like I know you've traveled to some Ring of Honor shows like way back in the day. So when it comes to like some moments and memories, I want to celebrate. And I would ask anyone else in the chat, or if you're listening to this on delay on audio form, send in your favorite moments and stuff, because I have a bunch that come to mind. And before you maybe think of some, Benno, I got to shout out the time I went to Border Wars at the Ted Reeves Arena. I can't remember when it was, but it was the Briscoe brothers versus the world's greatest tag team, Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas. Yeah, they were in Ring of Honor. And it was, I want to say some sort of street fight or something like that. But I'm with a group of friends, and one of my friends is in a wheelchair. I've told the story many times years ago on a podcast. During the fight, we decided to take one of the wheels off my friend's wheelchair and hand it to the Briscoes, who then used it as a weapon in this match. And then when he gave it back to us, he said, "Sorry, it's got Charlie Haas's blood on it." So we put the wheel back on my buddy's wheelchair, and he was like ecstatic that this had happened. And then after the show, we saw them outside the venue, and we went up to them and talked to them. Ended up having a sesh, and they were just the nicest guys ever. And to have made my friend in the wheelchair just have this like amazing experience that he always references to his friends. He even bought the DVD so that he could find the spot where he gives him we give the wheelchair wheel and everything like that. Like, to him, he has multiple photos with them. Ever since then, like, he became a huge Briscoes fan, and that's something that sticks with me in my brain all the time. And I don't know how long it took to get Charlie Haas's blood off that wheel, but it was on that wheel.
Did he really try?
He was like, "Oh, I don't want to, I want to keep it on there." I was like, "This is kind of gross, dude." But yeah, that was a moment that always sticks in my head.
I've had quite a few friends who are either like WWE fans or like ex-wrestling fans, like quite a few people knowing me as like the wrestling guy.
Yeah.
Asked me, like, been asking me at work and customers and things, what was the deal with this Briscoe guy? What happened? And like a few have been like, oh, I kind of want to check out his matches. And we're always, yeah, come over, we'll throw on a match. Yeah. Like, we invite people over, and yeah, it's definitely been a thing where people are like, oh, all I keep on hearing is how fantastic this guy was. Like, and I want to check out more of him now. And even WWE going to the lengths of acknowledging him on SmackDown, on NXT, shows like how big of a star he and his brother are without ever being on national TV or
TV.
WWE or anything. What are some highlights for you? Have you been able to stomach watching any like old Briscoe matches this week, or what have you kind of? Yeah, how would you celebrate? What are your matches or moments?
Yeah, I've been collating some stuff, like putting together. Like, it's such a wide ranging career. It's you can pick like any moment in the career. Like, for a live experience goes, like, I've seen them work each other on a King of Europe Cup show here in Liverpool. Seen them against the Young Bucks here in Liverpool, which was great. They had a match the same night as Nigel McGuinness and Bryan Danielson with the ring post spot where you can see a young me almost being sick in the background of that one, front row. I was also front row for them two against Austin Aries and Roderick Strong, which if it was on any other show, people would be talking that up as if, like they do not talk up Nigel and Bryan. That was a close to 5-star match in itself. So I'd throw that one out there. But there's so much of that career, like there's stuff in Noah. They had a tag match with I think Suzuki and Ricky Marvin, which was widely regarded. I remember seeing that on the wrestling channel over here that Davie might remember a lot. Their singles matches against each other were always fun, like no matter when they were. I think there's a couple of really great matches with the Kings of Wrestling, Claudio and Chris Hero. But I'd say the biggest place to go, if people have never seen it, the stuff they did with Kevin Steen and El Generico, like that. There's a really famous ladder war match from ROH that people should check out. But there's a street fight, I think it's in Boston a few months before. That's probably the best match of the series. And this is like 2007 era when, Steen and Generico are still very young and coming into, the tail end of the peak ROH era. And that was probably the best stuff, in that ROH era, the last few Gabe years and towards the end of kind of that peak era, they kind of kept that dream alive. But yeah, I could name 20 matches. There's so much. That's a starting point. But yeah, they didn't really have bad matches. They were reliable over these 20 years. They didn't have dips in form. They were just always great. The promos, you could sit there for an hour and watch promos like that. The stuff with Papa Briscoe, all of that. You could literally spend 3 hours on YouTube watching all of those clips.
Yeah, we rewatched the Ladder Wars match the other day, and it's the definition of just no fucks given in that match. Like, especially seeing like Sami Zayn today in this honorary Oos role, and the sweet, lovable Sami Zayn. We all just want to be, I just want you to be good, and just seeing him just fucking
eat chairs,
like smacking people ladders in the head, not giving a shit with these ladders.
Yeah, the J Driller through a ladder is something that sticks with me. Yeah, another thing is butterfly underhooked pile driver, forever be called the J Driller now. I think wrestling fans can agree on that. That we'll forever call the butterfly driver a J Driller. I think everyone's okay with that. That's cool. I love all those matches. When I like Briscoes, I remember going to a Ring of Honor show just recently, like right before the pandemic, when WWE did SummerSlam here. They did a Ring of Honor show, and the attendance wasn't very good. It was kind of like, for a Ring of Honor show, it was empty, but it's when they like got all their talent like rated right before then. So really the Briscoes were like kind of the only, like you said, reliable names.
The Maple Leaf Gardens?
It was at Maple Leaf Gardens. So we went, and the show itself was okay. Ring of Honor was really struggling, but the main event was the Briscoes in some sort of ladder war. So like instantly, that's what I told myself, well, I'm going to go for that. Like everything else on this card, I don't really care. Matt Taven, don't really care. But the Briscoes, I'll go see that. Worth the price of admission. And it was, in fact, that. I've seen them live at probably most Ring of Honor shows. This week, I was definitely digging, like, okay, what shows was I at? And then I'm like, Briscoe's there. Jay Briscoe singles title match there. I'm like, man, this guy, I've seen him wrestle live, like, more than a handful, like 20 times probably. So definitely we got to give flowers while people are alive, because I really, looking back, I'm like, man, he was stealing the show this time, and they were stealing the show at this show, and there's so many different matches that I love back, and this week we have been watching a few,
and we have our friends in the YouTube room all giving their kind of memories and stuff at the moment. We've got Andrew McDonald saying Seth Rollins talked about how important they were, and in his ROH debut, Seth, Necro Butcher, and Jimmy Jacobs hung him up, and he bled all over Jimmy, which we did talk about in our Man Up review. John Ceno saying, was there for Jay's last match for House of Glory, and it's so appropriate that his last match was dropping the titles and giving new talent the shine and spotlight, even with politics in the way. And then our good friend Jordan Goodman, who knew Jay personally through working in ROH, says his favorite memory was eating sushi in Fort Lauderdale with Jay on the venue stage while watching Cody versus Rocky and Taven versus Flip through an open curtain.
Nice.
Very nice.
Got to get that Matt Taven.
Yeah.
It's really nice to see everyone kind of give their thoughts on this person, and considering he never was on TV, as I've seen it covered everywhere. I work at a local news station. They covered this story, even though most people wouldn't know who this person was. When it comes to wrestling, you talk to someone who doesn't know anything about wrestling, and they find out you're a wrestling fan. They're going to be like, oh, wrestling? So, like, you go watch The Rock, or, like, Stone Cold, Hulk Hogan? And you're like, there's so many layers to this thing that you have no idea. So it is cool to kind of see, because you imagine, right? Like, say, like, a news producer at so-and-so might be a secret wrestling fan. So it's like, okay, I got to get this, like, story out there. So it was interesting seeing it covered.
I've always said wrestling's like music or film or whatever. There are genres. No one's just like, oh, like I like music. So you must just listen to Michael Jackson. Well, no, actually, I like, heavy metal, or I like rap, or whatever. It's same with wrestling. It's so broad, because I'm sure there are styles all of us like, there are styles all of us don't like, and there are going to be wrestlers that aren't on our radar and are completely on other people's radars and things. Like that's wrestling is just the title of what it is, and there's hundreds of genres and stuff. So definitely, if you haven't checked out Jay Briscoe's work, I'm sure so much is going to be being put out for free out there. Like, you can find all this stuff pretty easily now. Absolutely go. Before we kind of move on, Benno, are there any other sort of final words? I'm sure we're going to be talking about Jay Briscoe coming up in the next few weeks as we're getting more news and stuff, and I'm sure you'll be probably doing your own show at some point. But any kind of final thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, definitely. It's like, obviously we all definitely need to keep the family in our thoughts. They're not out of the woods yet. So, definitely keep one eye on that. And definitely, I think everyone's thinking the same there. And it's great to see all the celebrations. Only other closing thought really is Mark Briscoe. I really hope, it's not the end for Mark Briscoe. It's obviously not, I'm sure it's not a conversation, right now to have for him, but, let's hope that, if he's okay, maybe it's not, not the ideal circumstance, but maybe we get to see him in a ring again. That's something I'm hoping for that comes out of this as well. But overall, it's just it's nice to see the wrestling community come together. It's good to see, even in this horrible circumstance, all of the good words for Jay Briscoe, and mainly thoughts with Mark and their family.
Yeah, I could only imagine Mark Briscoe, man. All the thoughts to this dude. I don't know if we'll see him wrestle for quite a while. I don't know how I would handle that, and then trying to be still in somewhat of a spotlight they're still human beings, these people, so very tough. But all the good vibes to the Briscoes, and go watch your favorite Briscoe matches. Go watch the promos in the past while, man. Those I've been watching on Twitter, because people have been fishing them out and putting them up, and they've been giving me some chuckles where they just. There's one where I love when they're talking trash and it's Mark doing something crazy in the background. Doing kung fu in the garage. I don't know. And then it's like Briscoe's, good shit. Go watch them. Go find them.
Perfect package.
Yeah. Shout out the Briscoes. Shout out Jay Briscoe. Pour one out. Reach for the sky, boy. Yeah.
Well, it's quite tricky to kind of transition from this to our other topics, but we're going to do it, and it's going to be abrupt, and we really don't want to be talking about this fucking guy anymore. But more Vince McMahon news. Benno, you said earlier, like, powerful men can get away with stuff. Well, a settlement has come with a multi-million-dollar settlement with Rita Chatterton, and I mean, that must mean Vince is innocent, right? If he's just paying her millions and millions of dollars, that must mean he absolutely didn't do what he's accused of yet. Like, this came back 1986, the accused rape of Rita Chatterton, and seems like it's finally kind of come to an end with this huge settlement.
This is like some movie shit here. It's more Succession shit from Vince McMahon here. Sorry. So he's got allegations that were never, ever brought up, really. He's never meant... That's not been something that's been apparent to your casual wrestling fans. It's only something I learned about in the past few years. Like, oh, sorry, this is something that's just been kind of swept under the rug here for a long time. How is it that all of a sudden this is settled with money, of course, when he needs this to go away for other reasons that make it important for him? And that's just something that you don't need to be a wrestling fan. You don't need to know a lot about Vince McMahon to just put two and two together here with your common sense. So
what's a few $1 million to a billionaire as well? Like, it's
just insane, man. So like you said, what else is there to be said when wrestling fans who kind of are in the know, and you just had to watch wrestling for the past 20 years to kind of know the person who Vince McMahon is. I'm not talking about the character Mr. McMahon, because I don't think he knows which is which when you're looking at these stories and stuff. So for someone like for just looking at it, reading a story, you don't need to understand. You kind of figure out this guy is not good. to put it in layman's terms.
Anyone making excuses for Vince at this point, where it's like, oh, you know, the Lion, what? All of these women and all of this, like, maybe you can look at one incident and take Vince's side. I wouldn't agree, but fair enough. Once, like how many millions has this man spent now on silencing all these different women? Like
all these spas all over the country just happen to make up the same story, do they? Like it's
ridiculous. And I think the biggest thing is they're gunning for a sale. Like I was doubtful whether they really wanted to sell, but you see the office cutbacks they've made this week. This is the type of thing you do when you're wanting to make a sale. He's just cutting these loose ends. He's cutting a check to get rid of it and move on. And it's, you know, in his mind maybe, or in the company's mind, they can leave that behind and move forward with a sale. But it's just gross, isn't it? Just to see and be a part of, or hear that Nick Khan interview last week where he's talking about it. Like Vince was a wrestler that was injured and on the shelf for 6 months. Like he's coming back for the Royal Rumble as a surprise.
Just like this little roadblock in the way, like the way he brushed it. I like the media. These journalists piss me off as well because they never take.
Wait, are we talking about real journalists who are covering the stories, or are you talking about wrestling journalists?
Like, sorry, like people beat around the bush, like scared of saying the word. Like the accusation is rape. Like, why are we like beating around the bush about this? Like, and this interview with Nick Khan, like it's I believe they're quite pally, the journalist and Nick Khan, but like. Take them to task. Like, no, sorry, this isn't a roadblock. This wasn't, you had a minor like
ankle
health
injury
issue for a couple of months and now you're back. No, you've been accused of rape and sexual assault multiple times and spending a fuckload of money to brush this under the rug. Like it's disgusting.
This week, look, I mean, again, wrestling fans, we all had our things of, oh, you know, that's what we know about Vince, but like imagine the stuff we don't know about Vince. It's been a conversation I've had with wrestling friends since I got into wrestling. Think of the Attitude Era, the character. You're like, whoa, this is what this guy's doing. I remember, you know, obviously I'm a lot younger. I praised 2005 being my favorite year of WWE. I remember watching 2005 WWE. You know what things Vince has done on camera in that year specifically? That is a terrible year for Vince McMahon. He says the N-word on a TV show, on a pay-per-view. He has multiple, you know, divas basically like fucking him on camera. That's on camera. That is on screen. You can only imagine the way this guy acted when the cameras weren't rolling, when doors were closed. So that's just like
pitching an incest angle with his daughter.
Yeah, it's like think of all the sick things this sick fuck has gone through in his life, and now he's deciding to close up loose ends. No, he's doing it because he's a monster is basically what it is. So yeah, he created Hulk Hogan. He created Stone Cold. Cool. We can move away. Wrestling can definitely like move on from this person, I hope. But every week it seems that is not the case. And every week we still keep talking about Vince McMahon because he's the fucking cockroach of this shit. He's just never going away. And if the rumors are that he's doing all this stuff so that he can sell it to this person, or he wants to get it investors from Saudi, or, you know, all this crazy shit, like, I don't even put anything past him at this point. So, yeah.
We've just had, and I don't have the names in front of me, but just had some office cuts as well, which kind of leans you in the direction of thinking a sale is imminent too.
Yeah. As soon as Steph left, dude, I was like, something's cooking over there. Something bad is happening. And she knew that if she stays, she's going to get sued because of it. And she's probably going to come back and be chummy with her dad. You know, she went on SmackDown and did "Thank You, Vince," which makes me almost gag looking back at. It's just ridiculous.
At this point, I can't see her coming back until Vince is gone.
Things aren't rosy there, I don't think. Like you look between the lines, and the fact that they voted against things coming back, and then he comes back, and all of a sudden she's leaving again. She says one thing publicly, but I think Shiv Royer's got some other things going on in the background there. There's definitely some bedroom conversations between Stephanie and Triple H that haven't been too positive around Vince lately. I honestly think she's seen Vince for what he is over this last while.
I think so.
That's a hunch. She's, you know, this hero she grew up with. She's seeing all these allegations. He's seeing that, like, you know, this man, when he retired, he wasn't going to play golf. You know, he's got nothing else to do other than to force his way back into power. And if that comes at the expense of his son-in-law, his own daughter, he's gonna do it. And yeah, I think that's maybe even been a wake-up call for Stephanie of all people over the last month or so.
And by all accounts, is the the talent, the locker room seem to actually really like Steph, and she does seem to be someone who has their back. So I can certainly see they've had these repeated talent meetings kind of to try and convince everyone that everything's okay. But I feel a lot of talent must be feeling a little like nervous about stuff right now too.
You couldn't imagine some of the talent, what they've been feeling, especially with rumors swirling of sales to this person or to this group, to this, like who knows? As fans, you know, we're all like, oh, imagine if they sold here. Imagine like working there. Imagine having disagreements with certain things, and it's just all crazy. It's like a giant movie, and it's all over wrestling. One of the silliest fucking things ever to be created on this earth, and it's all about fucking wrestling, and it's nuts. So when people go to you, you know what? I find it in a weird way. Am I crazy? This year, the Royal Rumble, right? Next week, we'll get into Rumble predictions before we end the show, I swear. But for me, I've had a few friends who don't watch wrestling for like 15 years because Vince McMahon has been in the news on your MSNBCs, your CNNs. This story has been covered for the past few months, right? Mm-hmm. Now all of a sudden, oh yeah, Vince McMahon. Oh yeah, wrestling. Huh. And then they do a little quick Twitter search, Google search. Oh, SmackDown's still a thing. Okay, maybe I'll watch SmackDown now. Maybe I'm going to tune into this. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I've had friends go, I saw Vince McMahon was in the news, something going on. When's that? They still do the Royal Rumble? Yeah, when is that? Well, there's one next week. Oh, you know what? I'm going to watch that. So in the craziest, weirdest thing, it's actually probably attracted some fans back to wrestling.
It's also going back to these casuals I talked about earlier who were asking about Jay Briscoe. Like when the news of Vince coming back happened, I say to one of the guys in the kitchen, oh, Vince is back. And he goes, ah, fuck. And this other guy in the kitchen's like, great. How can you have WWF, he calls it, without Vince McMahon? And then I tell him everything and he's like, oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, fuck that guy. But I think so much of the audience are on that side where they maybe don't know because, again, like, okay, it's in your Wall Street Journals and your wrestling media outlets if you seek them out, but like it's still not like it's still not on the level. Like, and these journalists are not taking them to task and that kind of thing. It's
so crazy. Look, Dana White is on film, is on camera, slapping his own wife twice in that clip that you can see, and he still has a show where people are slapping people. Vince McMahon doesn't have anything really on camera that could be so damning. Yeah, he's said and done shit on Raw and SmackDown pay-per-views, like I said, on screen, but nothing like clear as day.
But that's also, you know, scripted. It's drama. There's the argument, well, actors are doing awful things in movies. Exactly. They're playing a part. So there is always that argument there. Yeah. And wrestling is always in that weird gray area because it's sort of half real, it's half scripted, it's all this weird.
So there's no like video that these news outlets are running that instantly says, look, this guy's a terrible person. So you wouldn't know if you don't like know or search it and stuff like that. So it's crazy. He won't be not involved in WWE, it seems, until the day he dies. Like, which is how we all figured anyways. We wrestling fans were like, this guy's never going to leave WWE, and the only way he's going is if he's 10 toes down, and that still seems the way now with him back and forth, flip-flopping nonsense, all this stuff. But I guess we'll see. 2023 is going to be a pretty wild year for this silly thing called wrestling.
Not even the end of January.
It's not even the end of January. Yeah, and shit's wild.
2022 is bad enough.
Yeah. Shall we get into some nice stuff?
Yeah, I'll talk about something nice.
Yeah, let's talk about something nice. We had a pretty nice match this week on Free TV. Bryan Danielson running this gauntlet of matches before he faces MJF at Revolution.
I don't want to, sound like what did someone call us on the post wrestling AEW shills, right? Yeah. But like if the Vince McMahon stuff pisses you enough off, like there's so much other shit to go watch. So thankfully, Dynamite is something I love watching every week. I'll be a shill till TK gives me some free tickets, which he has not done.
This match was great, and I'm loving this Danielson run. Right? It's when Danielson first came in, he was just doing, I'll have a match on Rampage, I'll have a match with Suzuki on YouTube. Like, he was doing all these things, and then we got into the kind of the weird heel turn and the Hangman feud, and like I still like I enjoy his tag matches and stuff, but we drifted away from the fact that this is one of the if not the best wrestler on the planet, who retired and is back, and we don't know how long we've necessarily got him for before he retires again. Can we just get these dream matches out the way? And God bless MJF, the biggest babyface in wrestling, who's gone, yeah, I'll face you at Revolution if you can just have banger after banger after banger, to quote Sheamus. And well, I loved this Bandido match. Benno, what were some of your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm happy to praise it. I mean, we get a lot of criticism on our podcast for hating AEW, but it's like when it's bad, we say it's bad, and when it's good, we say it's good. Like that's just life, and I know you guys are the same. I know you guys have criticized them plenty, during that little ROH period and the weird Forbidden Door period as well. When it's good, we'll say it's good. And the only free tickets Tony Khan's ever gave me, it's a Rampage and Dynamite. He wouldn't give me a pay-per-view ticket. The status that Steph's got, so I'm still bitter about that. So
that's Rampage and Dynamite more than us.
I had to fight for that one as well. I'll have a word.
You shills. No wonder you praise AEW so much. No, I'm joking. That's how it seems.
But no, it's been great AEW the last 6 to 8 weeks. Like the booking's been a lot better. The show is focused on better things, or it feels a more focused show, focusing on a few main characters rather than bringing in random ROH tag teams and such. And one of the highlights, like you say, it's been this Bryan run. Like, absolutely right, Davie. It's like the thing they were getting right earlier last year was just every Dynamite or even Rampage felt like it had a big Danielson singles match, and if we didn't get that, we had a big Punk singles match. That's all you need to do. It's not complicated. Like I have some issues with the Danielson MJF story in that I don't really buy Danielson really wants to be world champion anymore. Like if you listen to any interview with him in real life, he just doesn't really care about that. That man wants to go out there and have great matches. But the thing this feud's given us, as you say, he's just going out there and working great wrestlers. It's not complicated. Put him in the ring, boots and trunks, sign away 20 minutes of your show every week, and Danielson's going to have a banger. And that's what we're getting. And yeah, this one was just as far as like a bit of a styles clash, as far as Danielson getting to do a bit of lucha, which he's talked about for years as wanting to do, with the weird, technical stuff and reversals at the start of the match, and that bridge he did to power out of the Bandido submission, all those little weird moments. You could tell he was having the time of his life. This is what he wants to do. This is what he left WWE to do, is to go out there and be this. You say wrestling is art, be this artist, which is what Bryan Danielson is.
Bandido very much in that Takeshita role as well, where I don't know if he's won a match on TV yet, but every time just so creative and different from all the other wrestlers on the show, and just putting him against anyone is interesting to me. And this definitely, he's kind of disappeared a little bit since that Jericho match a couple of months ago, and just putting him right back on everyone's radar again.
With this match, Danielson has just been crazy. Someone on Twitter put up just every graphic of all the matches he's had so far in AEW, and pretty much every single one is a banger. Starting from the Kenny match all the way through to this Bandido match, I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, I liked every single one of these things. They were probably the highlights of each show that he was featured on. I love the fact that it does seem like it's an attraction. Like the art of the wrestling is, he doesn't care about being the champion. He just wants to put on bangers. And to some people, you do need a reason why these two guys are fighting. What's the storyline here and this and that. And Danielson makes it so simple. Is like, I'm a wrestler. I'm an athlete. I want to be the best. And I prove that by beating everyone else who claims to be the best. And the past 3 weeks, that Takeshita one definitely blew my mind as well. I think that guy is following in the footsteps of Danielson, pretty much, like just becoming someone who's just puts on actual great wrestling. But the run AEW's had right now, I am super invested. I have been since AEW started, and I know complaining about WWE and Vince McMahon, this and all that, like there is this great alternative that you can completely forget about everything going on in WWE and still be just a huge wrestling fan. And being the AEW shill that I am, I sing its praises every single week, because even if it's a bad show, it's something that I do check out. I think back to the greatest year in wrestling of 2005, every Monday night, right? Like I'd skip, my Monday night would be, I gotta watch Raw. I haven't spent a second on a Monday night being like, oh, I gotta know what's going on. No, I'll find out on Twitter in 2 seconds, because I don't care still enough, even in today's age. Whereas Wednesdays, I usually make sure I have my Wednesday nights clear. And if I don't, well, I'm watching it right away when I get home, because it's something that's like must watch viewing for me. And I that's just something it is. So when you announce Danielson versus whoever next week, which I don't think they have.
It's Cage.
It's Brian Cage. Oh, right. Dude, like no one would ever think to book that match, but it's probably going to be amazing.
Yeah, Cage is someone who's definitely like doesn't come across as a star to me at this point, but he's a pretty exciting wrestler to watch. And I think, again, it's Danielson. Put him against anyone. Benno, are there any kind of people you'd like to see Danielson face on this kind of gauntlet, on this run to Revolution?
Good question. I'd love to see him just back in there with, your Lee Moriarty's and your Daniel Garcias and your Wheeler Yuta himself. Maybe MJF could do that and be like, I'm going to put you in there against your student. Like those types of weird technical matches, I think I'd enjoy. But it's Danielson versus anybody at this point. I'm by no means a Brian Cage fan. I think he's the type of guy who just think everyone sees what he looks like and sees what he can do athletically and thinks, oh, I'll try and push him, and then it never really works because he's just missing something, isn't he, as a wrestler? But this is Brian Danielson we're talking about. He'll go out there and have a 4-star match with him, nailed on next week. So I'll take him against anybody on this run of form.
Thinking off the cuff, like Danielson Andrade. Obviously, Andrade might not even be in AEW at this point, but I felt robbed that we never got that one. I'm looking at other Ray Phoenix,
yeah.
Penta, any of those guys, really. Any of the House of Black guys instantly would be a draw for me. Literally anyone. Danielson versus anyone is a match that has my attention.
Jeff Jarrett.
Take all my money, please. That would be amazing. That probably would still be pretty good. Don't even get it twisted. The figure 4 exchange slap battle, book it instantly. I know Kyle O'Reilly's sitting out, but there's another one that instantly, like the styles clashing, the similar styles there.
I know I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, but I wonder sort of I think the times align that the New Japan US show, like you will have some talent over. I could see maybe like a Kenta Danielson, just you've got the whole story of the Bustaico knee and that kind of thing. I know Kenta's not the Kenta he used to be, but I still think that could be a pretty fun TV match there. We also had Darby Allin's kind of doing his own little gauntlet.
Hey, there's a match right there, man. Darby Danielson versus Danielson. Like, who's got to break someone's arm to that would be the gimmick of that match. But yeah.
Battle for Washington.
Yeah. But yeah, Darby's been having these since being TNT champion, just a run of really fun kind of dream matches himself, facing Kushida, one of our favorites, one of our NXT boys back in the day,
Great
in a pretty fun main event, I thought.
Dude, I mean, the second they announced Kushida in a throwaway comment on like last week's show on Rampage or something, to be like, hey, Kushida's going to be wrestling, by the way, which is great. We've been waiting for this guy to kind of be free from WWE. He took the chance in WWE. It didn't work out for him. They tagged him with Giro, and it was, well, ever since they put him in weekly segments in the bathroom and then put him in actual old school wrestling gear, I think for a Halloween show, it was done. We knew right there, dead on arrival, he's not going to go forward being anything else here in WWE. And then he went back to New Japan, and they kind of went, yeah, you left, so
yeah, kind of missed jacket time.
Yeah. They just treated him like you're kind of not anything. And I know he's battling was it foot and mouth disease or something like that. So I'm just happy to see him wrestle. But to then just throw him instantly into a main event slot with Darby, which I thought that match was absolutely awesome. It just makes me want to see more of Kushida in AEW. And I know that Machine Guns are tied up in Impact, but the whole trio, Time Machine versus the Elite, like, please take all my money, TK. Just somehow book this match, and the world will rejoice. But Kushida, losing to Darby is fine. I hope he does sign with AEW and continue to have bangers. But yeah, Darby back being TNT champion feels like the AEW I fell in love with.
Well, what I love with this match as well is it shows Darby can do the wild shit, but he's a really good wrestler as well, and could match Kushida with that, but still having that level of violence with the story with the arm, and taking the arm submissions just to that next level, recreating that like Kyle O'Reilly Kushida spot with the jump to the floor into the arm bar. I thought was pretty cool.
So someone in the chat says Darby versus Kushida is a 2019 throwback. What a wild sentence. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I've never seen them fight before, but it's like in 2019, I was loving Darby's stuff and I was loving Kushida's stuff. So yeah, it's kind of cool to see them tangle it up there. Who else would you book Darby in this run? Sorry, Benno.
Yeah, I was gonna say I reckon Tony Khan's a big 2019 guy. He's a big. I reckon Tony Khan was both an up next and a what's next listener, because like that guy loves him some proper black and gold NXT, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
He'll go out the way to bring in anybody from that era. Like on the quiet, he was definitely a listener. I think he
brought in two dimes. I mean, he brought in two dimes. Cole Carter, biggest NXT mark there is. Tony Khan. Yeah, I would like. They've announced. Darby Buddy for this week, and it's like, man, that sounds great. So Tony Khan's
cool.
Tony Khan's been
Darby
doing the right
Malachi
things.
Black could be pretty great.
Yeah, I imagine that's maybe where they go with that feud.
Yeah, what did you make of the Kushida match?
yeah, Darby in this spot makes sense.
Yeah, I loved it. It was a really good match. Like I say, the big spot was the big dive spot, and it didn't do great in the viewership, so maybe that's a sign of an unfortunate sign of black and gold NXT. The fans didn't turn out to see Kushida in the main event, which is a bit of a shame. But I love that like Tony's putting Darby in these big spots. Like I said earlier about the show feels more focused. It's people like Darby that I'm talking about. There's people like Ricky and some newer guys like the Tony Khan's definitely taking a shine too. But like Darby being heated back up is exactly what has been needed. Hopefully Eddie Kingston, that happens to next, because I don't know what's going on with that man's booking. But like over the last year, Darby's just kind of been that guy that hangs around with Sting with not much to do. And then just all of a sudden now he's TNT champion again. Tony's right behind him. He's getting these big spots on shows. And yeah, long may it continue. This is where Darby Allin should be. I'd love to see him wrestle Sting at some point. That's
okay. So we've been talking. Is that the Revolution match or like Event Double or Nothing or whatever? Sting Darby title v career, like Sting's one singles match. Like no one has to turn. It's just
he claims he's not wrestling him, right?
Sting seems to claim he won't do it in the singles match. Yeah, but I think he would. I think he'd do it with Darby. I think
just do the one.
Anybody, because he's built. Yeah, he's willing to do anything Darby says. He wears what Darby tells him to wear. He does the moves that, like, half of those spots he's trying at 100% Darby ideas. He puts a lot of trust in that man. So I think that's got to be the end game of this renewed Darby push.
Sting versus Darby, and then when the match starts, Sting finally takes his t-shirt off to reveal he's fucking jacked.
The Stinglet. That's all. Like, whenever I see him wrestle, I'm like, why are you still wearing a shirt? Like, you are completely passable in a singlet. I just watch fucking Muta and Hakushi and all them with their tits out, So it's like, come on, Sting. You can wear the singlet. I just love the open challenge gimmick. It always works for me. When you had Cena doing that US title run, Cody with his open challenge run, it always works, and it's always, you're guaranteed to have an interesting match, and it's always a way, like with Cena, you can put over like a lower on the card guy. Like I remember he had a great match with Zack Ryder when Zack Ryder was very much a jobber at that point, and I just think it, especially with the secondary title, it always works for me.
Especially if you're putting on great matches. I mean, the reason probably why it didn't do so well is because probably not a lot of people even know who Kushida is, and you just randomly cold through to him. It would be better if the week before you played a video where he's getting out of a DeLorean looking at his watch, and then you go, oh shit, this guy's wrestling. That's all you needed to know.
Instead, it was a throwaway comment on Rampage. I don't normally watch, but I happened to be called off work that day, so I'm like, okay, I'll watch Rampage, and then I'm double take
yelling
Kushida
10 things at you, and in that you're supposed to hear Kushida. Wait, sorry, what did you just say? So it is kind of like, that's where the fault of, well, people don't know who this is, right? So why would they care? Darby is a draw for AEW. Darby is a character that going forward will be a world champion there one day, because he just has everything, really, when I watch him. So
he could be the one to take from MJF, to be honest, down the line.
I feel like that's a long ways away, but not a far shout. Like, I do see money in Darby Allin being one of their homegrown talents, which they called him that on the Noah show, which I agree with.
Oh, I thought they were talking about Sting there.
Yeah, the homegrown AEW talent, Sting.
We had a little follow-up from the Moxley Hangman match where Hangman was interviewed by John Moxley's wife, Renee Paquette, and kind of putting over Renee saying that Mox kind of respects him, and Hangman feels the same. And then it was kind of very, very serious. It felt very like Friday Night Lights.
Very soap opera.
And then Hangman, can you tell John something? No, don't worry about it. He's going to tell him he's force sensitive or something? Is that
what is he going to tell him? I love you? What was he going to tell him? I can't quit you? What was he trying to tell John Moxley?
Yeah.
But we'll never know.
He's like, are you free? Are you free for Revolution?
I imagine the third match is at Revolution, right? Some sort of maybe gimmick kind of
knockout match,
fight pit, something like that. What did Ernest the Cat Miller just have? One of those matches.
Fight pit.
Yeah, do that. That would be all right.
Well, he didn't have it. He booked it.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, my bad. I don't know. I don't watch Impact. So the Revolution card's looking pretty stacked, and if that going forward with this storyline, Hangman can be a bit like. He's so different from other things. I think that's why he does work for me. But I could see a lot of wrestling fans being like, "What is this soft soap opera type shit here?" Like, let them know something for me. Oh, actually, never mind.
I thought they both played it really well. But I think the thing is, it's when so much of the rest of wrestling is a bit two-dimensional and a bit cartoony.
Right.
It's often jarring when you've got this guy talking like a real human being with a little bit more depth. It can kind of feel like it's straying into melodrama, but I don't know if that's because the rest of the show is so like outlandish.
Yeah.
But I liked it, and I thought Renee played it really well, playing the, I'm being professional, I'm doing my job, but also you knocked out my husband a week ago, so I'm concerned for my husband and his health and that sort of thing. Benno, what do you like these kind of segments? I know we see it with the whole Hangman and the Elite, where it gets a bit melodramatic at times. Does it work for you?
It definitely gets a bit much for me at times with the Elite, especially when it's the mid-match stuff that they'll often do. It feels a little bit sorry I love you, which is not really my thing. But yeah, it's interesting because I think Hangman Page is kind of he's the main character of AEW, isn't he? Like it's almost like if we all the last episode of Dynamite should be Hangman Page waking up from a dream. Like it should be like that. That's literally we've lived this entire
in the classroom. Just sir, you've fallen asleep.
Mr. Page.
That's what it feels like. It really does, because it's all about his relationship with the Elite, and we keep coming back to that, which I assume is what he was alluding to about having things he needed to sort out. I've seen wild conspiracy theories that it was to do with CM Punk, and I would love that as a massive CM Punk fanboy, but I doubt that's the unfinished.
I don't see that at all. That's a far cry from that. I don't see Hangman and Punk being involved in any storylines ever again. In a weird way.
Maybe the Moxley tie-in though is that he wants maybe the Blackpool Combat Club will back them up in a match with the Elite or something, because the Elite need, like, if they're going to continue to be 6-man champions, you need to come up with prestigious matches for them. And Hangman leading a team against them is probably as good as you could do with now. You could tie that into the Moxley stuff.
I'm feeling there's a story with them being like very modern macho guys, which again I feel like AEW does so differently from I think of movies that have come out in the last 10 years. Not every character that's the badass dude from like older generation. Things have evolved, right? Like heroes now in movies are way more relatable and like emotional, sensitive, all that kind of stuff. And Mox and Hangman are the two characters in AEW in just in wrestling that do fit like the more modern, stereotypical manly thing that like, me as a 30-year-old man, I go, those are the guys that I like look up to, we kind of relate to kind of thing. But there's also the drinking and getting clean storyline from both characters here. That's probably where he's referencing. I'm not saying, hey Renee, tell him I want to get a drink with him.
Use his rep.
Yeah, what I mean. Like maybe that's the kind of tie-in that they're gonna connect them to, which then you just see them eventually being tag team partners. So maybe that's where you get rid of the Blackpool Combat Club and it's Hangman hanging out with Mox and I don't know, someone else where they're like a new group, because you got to get rid of the Blackpool Combat Club. I think that has run its complete course. William Regal now in interviews this week is like, Yeah, I thought I was going to AEW to kind of help them, and instead I found myself being on screen, and that was it. So it's like, I think we can get rid of it. You don't even have the Blackpool to have a Blackpool Combat Club.
I don't think you need Blackpool to have a Blackpool Combat Club, though. Like, it's... I don't mind them being... I don't mind them being associated with... I mean, they've pretty much broken on up doing their own things now anyway. It's more like that's their dojo that they represent.
That's okay.
Like, I don't think it doesn't feel like it's taken over TV anymore, which it did for those few weeks after Regal left. I don't know. I assume we're going to one more match between these two.
For sure.
More like now it's a mutual respect. Look, you've got to win on me. I've got to win on you.
Really loved the last match that they had. That was a pay-per-view worthy match on Dynamite. That last week's Dynamite with Takeshita Danielson and Hangman Mox felt like probably one. And then what? The 6-man ladder match? That felt like probably the best Dynamite they've ever done, in my opinion.
In ring,
in ring, like that was a solid show. But going forward to Revolution, in Hangman Mox, in the Iron Man match with MJF thing, we're probably getting a trios title match there. Like the pay per view is going to be pretty stacked, I would imagine.
Will we still get 14 matches, even though we've got an
hour-long main event? Yeah, that's fucking.
Maybe Danielson loses to Cage, and it just doesn't happen.
Cage gets
if that happens. Spare a thought for us in the UK. When you guys are watching that pay-per-view and it's like, oh, there's still the main event to go. It's 5 a.m. UK time. It's just like, that's coming.
Yeah, that's us watching Wrestle Kingdom the other week. Like, oh wow, this is what you guys do every week. Holy shit!
I remember Revolution last year. I was in the UK and I met up with a listener, Anne Marie, to watch it, and we figured out the best bang for your buck at this bar was bottles of wine.
Right.
And she got to the point where she was like, I'm done. I can't drink anymore. Whereas I was at the point where if I stop drinking, I will fall asleep.
Yeah.
So, and I then go to the bar. I'm like, well, a glass of wine is this, or a bottle. I guess I'm just getting a bottle of wine again. So,
that's great. I don't know how you can stay
It is
up
rough.
that late.
I don't know how I did it twice a week for those Dynamite and NXT shows.
Yeah,
I've witnessed Davie fall asleep at a pay-per-view party. Braden, you don't want that in your life. He was it during the first night of WrestleMania? He fell asleep on the couch we were all sat at, and JP, my co-host on GRAPPL, tried to play a trick on poor Davie and wake him up. Davie literally woke up and swung for him. So don't mess with Davie Portman. Davie, I don't know what you were dreaming about.
That JP.
Yeah, if Davie was a wrestler, his gimmick would be just falling asleep. We have a lazy boy in our living room, and I'll come home sometimes, and this dude will be passed out, and I don't know.
Cake on my lap.
Yeah, you'll have a whole rotisserie chicken on your lap, a cake beside you, and then I don't know, a fucking fire in the kitchen because he loves to cook and fall asleep. So
it's so good.
Just
gonna highlight a message from Chris Elliott here. It was a cracking punch. Well, thank you.
It really was.
Thank you.
Hit me up, I'll send you the video. I've got it somewhere.
But who would win in a fight, me or Davie?
Ooh. I'd be your tag team partner in the corner, so I think you'd end up winning that one.
Oh, so only if it's 2-on-1 you'll win. I see
get so mad because everyone says I would beat him up, and yeah, I don't know. You defined a partner if I team with Benno. No, it would be me and you teaming against the GRAPPL guys in a match. I guess it would be.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah,
we're a bit older though. I think you'd have us there. You'd have the cardio.
We had a bit of a heel turn this week from Saraya and Toni Storm.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the Eddie Kingston heel turn.
We'll get to that next. But yeah, Saraya, who I think it's fair to say, pretty unsuccessful run so far in AEW. Like it's just been completely mishandled. I hope this is a step in the right direction, just putting her in a role that she's probably going to be better suited. But there's been a big disconnect with me, and even this heel turn kind of just felt not necessarily out of nowhere, but
it was. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think it'd been teased, but I think more people were maybe expecting the Shida heel turn, but just lazy.
Oh, man, so lazy. How like the fact she comes in here, cuts all these promos, and kind of messes the storyline up instantly. I'm speaking for myself here, but right away I went, no, I'm not going to cheer for you, even though I'm a fan of you. I'm going to cheer for Britt Baker because she's the hero in this story easily. They realize they fumbled that. They go, okay, we gotta reconnect the course here. And then I don't know what the deal is. I'm sure we'll find out in weeks to come with Mercedes Moné and was she supposed to show up here? Was she not? I don't know. But they changed course real quick, and this was their way out of it. That they have them sitting down, and then Saraya turns and goes, "The best wrestler, Toni Storm," and she just like, "Yo, what the fuck? I'm sitting right here." To then have a match where they just beat her up. No promo to do it. No, they just put the boots to her. I was like, that is the laziest heel turn I think AEW's possibly done. And then I didn't watch Rampage, but then I saw that maybe they did a 2 for 2 with Eddie Kingston. But I just thought it was so weird. You could have had a huge moment with Saraya turning. And it shouldn't have been that way. If anything, it should have been on Toni Storm. I know that we've now flip-flopped because easily
it seems they're building like AEW originals versus essentially WWE.
Right.
Is what it looks like. You've got Athena, who is playing heel at the moment as well. She's doing the ROH stuff. I wonder, do you think they may be gearing to do one of those big faction gimmick matches, Anarchy in the Arena or a Blood and Guts for the women this time? Like, because you're starting to build up these sort of stables. I assume you're going to move Britt and Toni in the babyface role now, which it still makes that muddy because we like Britt and Jamie. Sorry, this Britt and Jamie match should have happened by now. This break should have happened by now, and we just keep putting it off for this Saraya.
Yeah, the focus should be more so like Jamie Hayter was the going back 2005 Batista in the Triple H, right? Like she's become that like star that now everyone cheers for and everything. And instead of having Britt versus Jamie, which would be the logical thing, they've now just like pussyfooted around to having no, Jamie is the good guy because everyone else now is bad. That's not how it works in real life. Just because they're bad doesn't mean instantly these people are good. That's old. That's what TNA used to do every fucking week. They'd be like, well, actually, no, I'm a bad guy now. So instantly I associate with other bad guys. It's like, well, no, you actually hate them. So it's weird that they would go this route. I thought the heel turn was lazy, and Jamie Hayter should just go, you know what, Britt, I'm the champ right now. I have things to do. I have title defenses, and go with that. And then Britt goes, you know what? I'm tired of I'm the star here. And then boom, you have a pay-per-view match. Huge, great story. Instead, you got Saraya and Toni dicking around. I don't even care about this storyline now. So they've definitely even made the storyline worse.
It sums up the Saraya run, really. Like, she's came in, like you say, she's delayed the obvious Jamie Hayter turn, so we didn't get that. Now poor Toni Storm is, she was getting booed because of who she was in the ring with. Now she's having to turn heel, and that's not really good for Toni Storm. And we're building into this stupid faction warfare thing. This Saraya run's just been a bust. Like, I feel like I wasn't negative enough when she was coming in.
Yeah,
like, I never thought this was going to work. That was the secret of Paige. Like, she really was never that good. Like, she was good for the level. She was a good diva. Like, but she had dark hair, so she was a goth. Therefore, she wasn't a diva, but she fucking was for all intents and purposes. She just, at the time, the standard was low, so people boosted her up as this great wrestler. But she's came back, and like you look at the match, the stuff in ring, this week, last week, and the entire run, she just looks, several steps behind the other wrestlers. Like, she looks like, in the tag last week, she just looked like, she didn't belong in a ring with the other women. And I don't even think Britt Baker's that good. She looks like she genuinely needs to go back to wrestling school. She's just not there in ring. And as a character, they've had to turn her heel because she is so off-putting and is such a turn off as a character, and the promos have been bad. It's all desperate stuff, really, for someone who really isn't that big a star to begin with. It's just they blew up the entire women's division.
But like you say, not that big a star. I know so many people, especially girls, who have watched that Fighting for My Family film because it was on Netflix. So many people when they hear, oh, you do a wrestling podcast. Do you know anything about that Paige? Because I love that film. Like a lot of people, and especially girls, have talked to me about it, which is just. It makes this whole thing such a fumble from whether she's like her quality in ring is there or not. I think you do have potentially a big star on your hands that has just not been handled in the right way at all. And within a couple of weeks, you see her on TV and it's, like you forget she's there, and then she comes on and you groan.
Yeah, I get
like it's bizarre.
Davey's totally right. I can't think of how many times people have asked me about that movie, and again, specifically girls. When that movie was put online, like a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's about a movie about a girl who wrestles,"
and especially with Florence Pugh now blowing up,
and now she's
going and seeking out her other stuff, and finding this film.
That's exactly it. People definitely go back and look at her other movies and go, "What's this movie?" And then they watch it, and you know what? It's a pretty fun film. I don't know if Vince Vaughn is supposed to be William Regal, or Matt Bloom. It doesn't really make sense, but it's a fun movie. But the Smark fan in you watching that movie, though, you're like, that's wrong. I can't watch this movie. You just check yourself. It's a fun family movie. But you go, okay, like in wrestling, she's somewhat of a star. The way they brought her in, you go, okay, cool. This could bring some different eyes and attention. As much as maybe we all hated it when she, Total Divas helped bring in so many more women wrestling fans. That started so much. As you can deny it all you want, there's a reason why it did good, and the reason they pushed it is because it worked. And how many people it brought in to watch wrestling now. Paige was a big star of that. So her first promo coming in being like, I'm the big shit. Fuck this small little pond. Britt Baker sucks. I was like, fuck you then. I don't give a fuck then.
Am I cleared? Tune in.
I don't know. I'm not cleared. Why should you watch? Also, I have really bad takes online. It's like, why should I care about this person at all? So instantly it died. And I was someone who's like, no, let's give this a chance. Let's see where this goes. This could be good for AEW. I think it did in fact, the exact opposite. And the same could be said. It reminds me, because Benno, you're saying this all is like fucking up the Jamie Hayter Britt Baker stuff. In a weird way, it reminds me of when Hangman was champion, and they go, no, CM Punk needs to be champion. He's the draw here. It's like, well, wait a second, can we not just finish this first and then go to this?
Yeah, you said better. He was the main character.
Yeah,
and then it's but we just bought a CM
It's the
Punk.
same thing. Jamie Hayter is your women's champion. And for some reason, we're now focusing on some ex-WWE person who comes in and wants to sing her sob stories about this and that and then turns heel. It just doesn't make any sense. And I'm totally, as much as I tried to be interested, it's like definitely like, nah, don't care. Yeah, death on arrival.
Benno.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Eddie Kingston.
Oh man, I promise you, I've been really enjoying AEW lately. I've got so many good things to say. This stuff, like, it's so beneath Eddie. Like, that's the one thing missing. I'm loving the matches on Dynamite. I'm loving most of the stories, Saraya aside. I'm loving the focus on wrestlers. The one ingredient that's missing is top of the card Eddie Kingston. He doesn't have to be the main eventer, but in the mix. Remember the guy who went into the feud with Jericho? I want that guy back. Like, what are we doing? Like, he's turning heel on Rampage in an angle with Ortiz. Like, this is not the Eddie Kingston anybody wants, especially as well. I know you can't help it, but, we're all seeing the footage from the Briscoe tribute show where he's holding up the J sign and he's being lovable Eddie Kingston. That's the Eddie Kingston. That's the real Eddie Kingston that we all want to see. Nobody wants to see him go back the heel route. No. I've got it does look like it might be, a red herring on the way to continuing the story with the House of Black. Maybe it's not a full turn, but it's B-level stuff that should be beneath Eddie Kingston. I know you can't feature everybody on Dynamite, and there are guys that are going to, where's Miro? I'm sad about that, but you can't fit everybody in on Dynamite. Tony's tried before, and I don't think it works out well. But you've got to do better by Eddie Kingston. Like, this stuff, it's outside of Saraya stuff, it's my least favorite thing in the company right now. Not counting Matt Hardy, also throw that in too. But
Kingston,
something's wrong.
He's someone who just can't hide his emotions at all, and I find that so infectious and endearing, where you can't not root for this guy. And whether you're a fan of him in ring or not, you hear him talk and it's like, oh man, I love this guy. And I think I was earlier when he was having that hot run last year with the Jericho feud, you're going, okay, I could see him having a title match at Queens after Ash. Like, that seems perfect. I think there is a scenario where he could be the guy to like take a MJF. Doesn't have to hold the title long. A Mick Foley kind of 3-week, 1-month deal. Just give him that moment. But it seems as the weeks go, he's going further and further away from that. Whereas
something's happened.
He was like he still gets a monster reaction whenever you go to these shows. The crowd still love him, and I don't know if it's this Sammy fight that
is that what happened
him down,
like, is that what caused this this reaction, this chain reaction? Because he's just been like this, not even B level Benno, it's like C level. Like, sorry, you miss Rampage. It's around Rampage this guy's turning on his friend, who also, since no Santana, I know there's injuries and some other things, but like it's just Ortiz and Eddie Kingston that already doesn't really like have too much of my attention. Eddie Kingston is someone that isn't like the indie darling. But as soon as someone who's new and you haven't seen him before and you hear him talk or you see him wrestle, you do become a fan. He's someone that you see gains new people because they see what this guy can bring. He does look like, not your average person, but he brings this such like realism and intensity to everything he does. So to see him being like fucking around, like pissing about in this angle, when it's like, dude, he could be helped. You could have a feud with him and Takeshita where he just talk shit to Takeshita, like everyone's saying you're so good and all this stuff. I've been here. There's a feud right there. Instead, he's what is all this?
Both love Kings Road style.
Yeah, it's just like the simplest things in AEW are the best things, and for some reason they are managing to fuck this up.
I wonder if there is just like because he's such an emotional guy, where Tony Khan just can't trust him in that position. Like he is someone who will talk without thinking and act without thinking a lot of the time, and whether it's he's like, if I'm going to have, I mean, I'm saying that, and there was the whole CM Punk thing, but but maybe that is a wake-up call. It's like, I need someone with a bit more of a level head. I need a Jon Moxley in that role. Like, I don't know.
He doesn't need to be the main guy. Bizarre. He doesn't need to be the champion, but like to have him being a featured player that would elevate himself, the stories with other wrestlers. He's so good at that. So I just think of the Punk feud instantly helped people go, oh, Punk is back, because look at the promos and look at the match with Kingston. That for me, I watched that, I went, oh, okay, this guy's back. And then he did the Jericho thing, and that was when people really were writing off Jericho. But he helped Jericho come back to this, like, look at the year now he's had. So it's like Eddie Kingston was doing that to people, and then he gets the shaft where he doesn't get like the flowers essentially. Yeah,
he's such a valuable guy to have in your roster. Like, he's a guy who he would never make it in WWE. Like, to me, it's still bizarre to see like this guy who was, doing Chikara in the mid 2000s and CZW and whatever else he was doing, IWA Mid South, to be a guy who, like, when my friends who watch AEW maybe aren't familiar with the indies, quite often he's the guy they come away with going, oh, I really like Eddie Kingston, because there is that thing about him that's real and translates, and he's different. He's something you wouldn't get on WWE TV. He's a great selling point for AEW being something different. And I'm totally with you, Braden. Yeah, maybe he can't be world champion. Maybe he's too temperamental for it. Maybe he wouldn't handle the pressure. Maybe he even thinks, Ortiz is his friend. He probably wants to do this feud. But if he does, he needs to be protected from himself. He should be in higher level stuff. And yeah, it's a real tragedy. Him and MJF, how good would that be? If that was the next big MJF feud. But I'm with you, Davie. We're getting to a point where, as we get further down the line, it's feeling less and less likely that you can heat him back up and put him in that mix. He's really in danger of slipping down the card.
Yeah. Do you bring, like, does this feud, like, I thought the feud was going that House of Black were messing with him. That's what it seems like, that maybe this turn isn't even a turn, but then that's just stupid. Like, it's dumb. Yeah. So, I think he'll eventually get out of it. I think he will get back into a more prominent position. The reactions speak for themselves when he comes out. So we were pissed. We go to that the show we shall not be named, Rampage in Toronto. He wasn't even on that Rampage. He was on the dark tapings. Guess who wasn't in the building before he even we weren't even in the building yet, and this guy's already wrestled. We're like, sorry, this guy wrestled not on the main show, but on a show that was like just so bizarre. So. We do hope that 2023 is a better year for Eddie Kingston. Money on the table.
Any other AEW thoughts before we move on to talk a little bit of WWE?
Yeah, not really from this week. It did feel like a weird show, didn't it, with the Briscoe stuff in the air, and they're not really able to directly acknowledge it. So yeah, really, it was a bit of a one-match 2-match show. I thought Dynamite this week wasn't much going on Rampage. The commentary was terrible, but that's Rampage. It's always going to be like that. Loving the Acclaim stuff right now. That's kind of it, really. But I'm enjoying AEW overall as a product. And
no, absolutely. It's been a really hot product. I still really enjoy it. We're nitpicking things we don't like, but everything else I've been super invested in, and the wrestling definitely has been speaking for itself, especially just having. You mentioned MJF supposed to be the heel, yet we're getting Danielson dream matches every week. It's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Let's just keep doing that every week until whatever. But still solid stuff.
So this coming Monday, we're celebrating Raw XXX, Raw 30, and which will celebrate the huge return of Ron Simmons and the Bella Twins, amongst other lesser-known legends such as Hulk Hogan, The Undertaker, and Ric Flair.
Oh, is it Raw 30? I thought it was Legends Night.
Yeah. But yeah, they did do a video package this week, kind of to that awful blue cover. But actually, I did enjoy the video. I don't know if you've seen it yet, showing all the highlights. It included a lot of AEW people. You had your Daniel Bryan, yes moment. You had Raw is Jericho, JR all over it, Vince McMahon all over it. But yeah, I thought we'd just take this time to kind of maybe just talk about some Raw highlights or over the years.
Yeah, I mean, we do a podcast called Best Match Ever, and we like to keep it topical. We just did one for Great Muta since he's been retiring. We are definitely going to plan on something for Jay Briscoe down the line. I know we're planning on doing one for Stephanie McMahon. But Raw 30 was definitely spinning some ideas in my head of like, man, like, you know, again, it's a show every Monday for years. I would tune in and watch, and there's been so many moments that flood into my head, and a lot of great wrestling as well. So instantly my mind went to like, okay, 30 years of Raw. What are some of the greatest things that I've enjoyed watching? Of course, Mark Henry and Mae Young come to mind, but matches come to mind, and a few that definitely stuck out. So I'll definitely start. I think it's just like easy one to go to, but the best Raw matches that come to mind are John Cena, Shawn Michaels, and John Cena, CM Punk.
Yep.
I think those two are the instantly popped into my mind.
Also, we mentioned it earlier that a lot of John Cena for a guy who can't wrestle. Yeah. The John Cena Cesaro match, Sami Zayn match. I'm also, if we're talking about wrestling, obviously that the tag match, Austin and Triple H versus Jericho and Benoit is up there for me. But it's I think more of like the moments, you know, the beer truck, the hijacking, all of that kind of stuff as well. Maybe more so than the wrestling, but it has had some pretty good wrestling as well.
Val Venus, Choppy, definitely comes to mind.
Yeah,
that's a good Raw moment. What about you, Benno? Any Raw moments?
Yeah, the Yes Movement's one, like that whole period where it felt like we were winning for once. We were gonna pull it back from Vince. Didn't last long. You mentioned that, you know, the Austin and on the Jericho and Benoit with Triple H. Jericho and Triple H when Jericho won the title.
Oh yeah,
that's a great Raw moment. Like we just went back, I'm sure Davie knows, on GRAPPL and did the we looked at Raw month 1. We reviewed the 30 years ago the first month of Raw. I'm hoping they bring Rob Bartlett back for this show. I don't think they will. I think he's been scrubbed from WWE history, and probably rightfully so. A worse commentator than even they've had over the last 15 years. But like watching all that stuff was bringing back. It was like weird watching the Raw set in 1993, but there's all these 80s guys still knocking around, you know, your Savages and your Big Boss Mans and Earthquake and Typhoon and those types of guys. Hogan, Brutus Beefcake, turning up towards the end of that first run as well.
It's weird.
That's the real Raw for me, Manhattan Center.
As big as Hogan is, and he will probably always be the guy most associated with wrestling, I never think of Raw and think of Hulk Hogan.
Not at all.
No,
he was way past that.
Yeah.
You think of Steve Austin. It almost looks weird seeing like Hogan did like around WrestleMania 9, like Hogan with the Raw set behind him, just looks wrong. I think your brain immediately goes to, doesn't it? You think of Monday Night Raw, you think Raw is War, you think Austin McMahon, you think of all of that, Run Corporation, The Rock, all of that. I mean, they'll probably spend most of the time talking about those as the glory periods. That's the stuff that sticks out to me.
I think my first memory is Austin tied in the ropes by the Ministry and the greater power, the higher power. And I just remember like that cliffhanger and not really knowing what wrestling is. Definitely didn't give a shit about the wrestling aspect of it then as a kid, but just being, who is it? Who is it? Who is it? And all week. And like back then it would be Raw would air on late Friday night in the UK. So you'd get those spoilers coming in on Monday, and it's like, one of my friends was like, I could tell you, I could tell you. I'm like, no, I want to watch it. I want to watch it. And it, of course, being Vince McMahon.
Vince. That period as well, that angle as well, where they're holding Stephanie hostage, and they're gonna put her up on the cross.
The Undertaker
crucifixion,
that one's so
the
good,
sacrifice, man. They called it, right?
I have this WWF like DVD set where it's like 2 or 3 discs of just like all these like epic Raw moments and matches and stuff. And like when I was young and found this DVD, all I did was watch this back and show my friends and stuff like that. And it's got all those ones, and it definitely comes to mind. I think Stone Cold clearly like having that crazy run of being the guy. So like you said, seeing Hogan's graphic for this Raw 30 show, I'm like, that just doesn't fit right when it's Austin and The Rock and Triple H, who I think of like Monday Night Raw, like that's their show. I would say
Triple H returning at
Triple H returning is a huge one on a Monday Night Raw. Trying to think of other like big returns.
I love the evolution period for Triple H, like when they were like at their pomp and he did the Shelton Benjamin match, like that little run. That was a fun era Raw.
Shawn Michaels, Shelton Benjamin. That's another huge Raw match that I fucking loved back in the day. You can't mention 30 years of Raw, Raw XXX without talking about the live sex celebration. I mean, what a moment! One of the most watched wrestling segments of all time. And like, I mean, that just speaks for itself there, really.
Then you had all the stuff like, what was it? Raw Roulette, where you had the
Raw Roulette,
the weird forgotten TLC match.
Yeah, that was a good. That was a good Raw. Yeah, you got that one. What about when Vince McMahon was giving out money every Monday night? That was a fucking terrible era of.
That's just every day in 2023.
Yeah, now we know why he was handing out all that money every Monday. That was good. Donald Trump was owner or general manager or something fucking stupid. That was really bad times. Great times, really. Friendship.
Festival of Friendship.
What did I say? Friendship Festival. That was a great moment. I'm thinking in the last, for me, it's so easy to look back at like years ago, but in the last even 10 years, there's still some the Yes Move. It's in the last 10 years, right? Is it?
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
2014.
Yeah. Okay. So there's still some. I'm thinking Nexus when it happened, the first shock of Danielson choking out Justin Roberts. That was cool. I'd say they really fumbled the bag after the fact, but when it initially Nexus showing up was pretty good.
I mean, I think most of these great moments, you end up looking at the feud, and they fumble the ball. Chris Elliott saying, amazed Benno hasn't mentioned the pipe bomb.
The pipe bomb.
That's the big one, isn't it? Got to throw that. I was thinking it's talking of follow up being fumbled. Yeah, when he came back to Raw as champion, and they did that weird thing with Rey Mysterio. Yeah, that wasn't it didn't work out well. And then there's all the Kevin Nash stuff, but the actual moment, the pipe bomb moment, that's got to be up there as far as a compelling 15 minutes of Raw TV.
Does this Raw coming up? I think we're all in the same boat where we're kind of. I enjoy SmackDown. Raw is still a bit of a struggle, but do you see any? We've got this big Sami Zayn, the trial of Sami Zayn with the Bloodline. We might be getting some other generations of the Bloodline coming in. Does that interest you? Do we see Undertaker's going to be there? Is he coming out of retirement for a Mania match? What? I really don't. I think they've completely killed the Legends gimmick. I don't care anymore.
How many times?
Whereas that used to be pretty fun. When you used to get these people back, they wheel these people out all the time and nothing happens. I can't say I'm too interested about that, but the Sammy stuff always has my attention.
Yeah, are we getting Heath Slater getting beat up by all the legends. I'm thinking of like the classic tropes that they go to all the time. And
then they're all backstage. Ron Simmons says "damn," and then they all do a big dance. Those segments are coming. Yeah, I don't like same as you, Davey. I do enjoy SmackDown. Generally speaking, it's 2 hours, lots of Roman Reigns, easy watch. Like, there's a reason we record GRAPPL Spotlight on a Monday night, like, because we just don't care about Raw. It doesn't matter. This, I suppose, it being a big one might be worthwhile, but it's still 3 hours, isn't it? It's still Raw, and yeah, I think that the Sami Zayn angle is probably obviously the main draw. But they're just not creative enough with these old guys. Like I say, they're not, digging deep and, bringing back, like, some guys from, like, the early Raw, like a Damien Demento or something, or like a,
wow,
like those kind of gimmick guys. Like, it's the same old shit, isn't it? It's Ric Flair, it's Hulk Hogan, if they're available, bring in Kevin Nash, those types of men, really. So yeah, there's not much you can do. I don't think really with they should be in the Manhattan Center. That is one thing I liked a couple when they did that. What that show that was, like the 3000th Raw or something. Something like that.
Raw 25, so 5 years ago now.
Yeah. They should do something like that again.
Even though most people were pissed when they realized
they tried the simulcast, the like two venues, didn't they?
And it didn't really. It pissed a lot of people off. Because they were like, I didn't even get anything on this show. Why did I wait all day to get my spot or whatever, right? Yeah. I probably will check out some of the clips. I'm sure there will be something of note from the 30th anniversary. By the time you people are listening to this, maybe something good happened, but my hopes are still pretty low. Maybe we get, another Raw moment. You know what? I support love, peace, and bringing people together. Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels hugging it out.
Aww.
I need that. Just do that on Raw 30. Just have them hug again. Just for no reason. Be like, hey, you're here. I'm here. We made it. Let's just hug. And I think we could all be happy again.
Fuck Bill Goldberg.
Goldberg comes out and spears him. And Sean's like, gotcha. Gotcha, bitch. Yeah, that would be great. That would be fantastic.
It is Rumble season. We've got the Rumble coming up in just under a week. And, well, everyone loves the Rumble. Even if you're completely checked out of wrestling, the Rumble's always a fun one. It's always a great time. We're going to have some friends over, some lapsed fans, some current fans, and we're going to play some bets and drink and eat pizza and watch the Rumble.
You coming over, Benno?
Yeah.
You're invited.
I'm up for it. I'll look at the flights. I'll see what
look. Predictions. Let's start with maybe the women's. Benno, kind of any thoughts for the women's Rumble this year?
Not really. Like, is there anything they can do that could, like, what's the rumored Mania main event? I don't think we've ever heard any talk on that subject of what it
I think Rhea Bianca kind of makes the most sense because Rhea seems the hottest right now, and Bianca's been on this crazy run. So I think that kind of, like, I don't see anyone unless you're like bringing the surprise back. But at this point, who would that be? Like, yeah, I'm not sure. Looking at it, like, the winner faces one of the champions. I mean, who Charlotte's on the other end of it, right? So I imagine we're not going with Ronda in one of these big matches.
She probably won't come back.
Yeah, thank God. Yeah, just like, let's end.
You think she's done, Benno?
She should be.
Yeah,
that's a weird one, isn't it? Like, she felt like she had so much star power when she first came in, and she was surprisingly good. She just felt like another woman on the roster, didn't she? The last while or so. Like, I think she should go away, and I don't think there's really much value in it.
They definitely killed that. Yeah, they killed even the aura, if she even had any when she came to WWE. They killed that real quick. Unless she wins the Rumble and faces Charlotte again.
Mercedes Moné, maybe she'll come back.
There you go, Mercedes.
Star, Sasha Banks.
Will she be? She won't have the title yet. She won't have that New Japan title just yet. So there you go. She can be double champ.
What about just surprises?
Tori Wilson.
I
just want to see Tori back. Kelly.
Just the same old.
Just the same.
Alicia, the same one.
If you want, you know what? We do the NXT. We do Up Next and stuff. Sol Ruka, we've been talking about. She's gonna do that Kofi spot. If they don't, that's just messing. They should do that spot because she's really good at it.
I wonder Triple H being
somewhat
involved creatively, we think, at the moment.
Roxanne,
because last year we didn't have the NXT involvement at all.
Yeah.
I wonder if like a Roxanne coming in.
Mandy Rose.
I could see Mandy coming back.
Yeah,
like
Mandy Rose.
I think like WWE kind of got a lot of criticism for that. Mandy in interviews has been pretty diplomatic and complimentary towards her time in WWE. I could see that being a thing for sure.
Mandy Rose. But yeah, as far as like the actual like winner, the real one makes sense would be like your Becky or your Rhea, because then you could set up like the match. I'd say Rhea is really hot right now, where you could do Rhea versus Bianca, but other than that, like what, Charlotte,
I
Becky?
could also see them giving Rhea a spot in the men's. You know, like we have had that with Nia not too long ago. Yeah. I think you could maybe do something like that with Rhea. Obviously not win it, but some sort of spot to help out Priest and Dom.
So then you're saying that we could put a men in the women's Rumble then, right? It's only fair.
Well, Santino's on Impact right now.
Santino's busy, so he can't really do that. But I know people were pissed when he showed up to take a spot in one of those Rumbles. Yeah, I don't know. I do think Rhea's really hot right now. We were at that Toronto show where the Judgment Day lost a match, and then she carried Damian Priest to the back because he was selling like he was hurt. I could see them doing the spot where he gets knocked out and she saves him and puts him back in the match.
Which because Priest is huge as well. Yeah. Like it was actually really impressive her carrying Priest off.
Yeah. Okay, well, what about the men's Rumble then? I mean, the weird thing here, and I'm talking to wrestling fans, the people who are like catching up kind of what's going on, I'm not too sure. And the unanimous thing is, why did they announce Cody Rhodes without just giving us that huge pop when he shows up?
So I did see something about that they have plans of other surprises. And from what I was reading, it seems more something along the lines of like a Mickey James from last year, like something rather than just bringing back the Boogeyman. So like, I can't remember where I read it, but basically it might have been Fightful saying you'll be satisfied with some of the other surprises, and that's why we wanted to give Cody as like a draw.
Wow, we're getting Impact stars in our Rumble, so we better announce Cody's in the Rumble to offset that. I still think
but whether it's like an AJ Styles kind of level.
Well, he's hurt, so
no. I mean, like when AJ debuted, that kind of like a new roster thing.
Well, Benno's saying the other thing, right? Like the other elephant in the room is The Rock. Gonna actually show up? Is The Rock gonna get in shape? According to Meltzer, is The Rock gonna even wrestle in a match to win a match to you even need The Rock in this?
It stinks. With The Rock, it just smells of bullshit, doesn't it? It's like he knows when WrestleMania is. He's been alive for at least 40 odd WrestleManias his entire life. He knows that it comes around. They pull out. He knows when to get in shape for. So I just think he either doesn't want to do it or it's bullshit, and he's going to be a surprise. Maybe at the Rumble, maybe closer to Mania.
Number 30. The Rock, so he doesn't have to do too much. Just throw Cody out, get the heat. Either way, like Cody should win in this like situation. Like, sorry, Sami Zayn is not winning the Royal Rumble. Whether or not he gets turned on tomorrow night on Monday Night Raw in his court battles, but like, are they gonna pull an audible and go, you know what, Sami's winning the Rumble, Sami versus Roman? Like, as much as we all want that to happen, it's not gonna happen. I think the best plausible thing is WrestleMania, Cody versus Roman. Let's go. Let's book it and have Cody lose.
Keep the run going.
The whole thing just to have him lose.
I could see if it's not The Rock, I could see Cody and Seth as the final two. This being Cody's first match back. You've still got a little bit of unfinished business there. Seth is on a pretty hot run right now. I could totally see that being the final two. My heart would love Sami. I think we're getting Sami Roman in Montreal, which makes sense, but just that would be pretty special.
I don't know, some people in the chat are giving some suggestions for surprises like Edge. I don't even know if he's able to. The Great Muta, he could show up.
I think that'll happen. I believe that one. That man's never retiring.
I could totally see that.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, we'll get into Muta Bye Bye
in a second. Yeah. No, there could be some cool surprises. I think they've messed up the Rumble last year. They didn't make it as exciting as it used to be. I hate the Brock spot where he throws someone out and then just waits, and then they do it for like 15 minutes. It's really boring. So I hope they do not.
That wasn't last year.
Was it last year?
That was
the year
like
before?
3 years ago.
Was Shane the last year?
Shane was last year.
Yeah.
I swear Brock was in last year in the F5 Bad Bunny, and it's like the only thing I can remember.
He was in the match last year,
Yeah.
but he won it last year. But it was a couple of years ago he had the first 30 minutes
hated
of the match.
That.
I like that one.
I do think Brock Gunther should have a big moment where they maybe hopefully tease that match.
I think we're setting up that
WrestleMania. But yeah,
like weekly moments.
Yeah. So who are you putting your money on then? Cody.
Cody.
All right.
Yeah,
Yourself, Cody.
Cody, and that's what I want to. I want the big Cody. Cody's in this weird spot, isn't he? Where he's half the people's choice. He half feels very, the way they're doing all the build-up packages, feels like a bit of a company choice. They need to make sure they get that right. And it doesn't feel too much like they're forcing them down people's throats.
I think it's that balance of wrestling fans like to be surprised, but also like logical storytelling, and the logical storytelling is Cody to win. But it's also, I'd rather be surprised by it though.
Cody's gonna beat Roman, and then he's gonna hold up the WWE title, and he's gonna throw it down, and he's gonna go in the air, spell out AEW, and it was all the work. We all knew it from the beginning.
And then Hangman wakes up in the classroom.
Yeah. I could just picture though, Cody. It feels a little bit like Bryan and the damage that was done to Blutista and Roman and Randy Orton, all those guys. Like you've got to keep Cody. You got to keep Cody away from Sammy and not make fans feel like that choice has been made.
True,
because that will be bad for Cody. Like they've got to play that well. I think they played everything well with Sammy so far. They'll get it right. But yeah, that's something I'm a little bit worried about.
I'm interested to see if maybe we do get like we said, the Great Muta or anything like New Japan related, Carl Anderson or something, because there seems to be that there was some more talks with New Japan and possibly WWE. Yeah, Jay White. Hey, there you go. Jay White could show up. Yeah,
sure. I know that loser leaves town, but that's what I was going when I was saying about AJ Styles. Like I think that's someone, but right. I think the Hikuleo match is after the Rumble, is it not?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but still, you could have that deal in place, maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, because I saw some reports this week that there was talks of AJ showing up at Wrestle Kingdom, and I'd be like, why would AJ show up at Wrestle Kingdom? What would be
to help his boy Carl Anderson?
Yeah, I mean, instantly my brain goes to, okay, they're setting up Kenny versus AJ and Ospreay. No, I don't know, but AJ's injured now, so we don't even get him in the Rumble, which is unfortunate.
So while we're on the topic of New Japan, there were a few shows in Japan this last week. We had New Japan and Noah Wrestle Kingdom Day 2. I didn't get a chance to watch this. Benno, I believe you did, but what I have seen is going around the Okada Kiyomiya spot where Okada, it looks like, just shoots on Kiyomiya and gives him a hell of a receipt.
I mean, he gets kicked in the face.
Yeah.
He gets kicked in the face and then just beats the shit out of this guy. This is Killer Kota Ibushi, but Okada. This is the most interesting Okada's been in quite a long time.
Most fiery shown in a long time. So where was this with Jay White in the Wrestle Kingdom main event?
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, I suppose I'll beat Jay White. Yeah, we'll go out there, we'll have a 40-minute Okada match. This feels like it's got actual stakes now. Like, it was brilliant. Like the kick to the head was a great moment, but it was Okada just laying into Kiyomiya. It felt like a shoot, down to the promo after it as well. It's like, you're totally right. This is the most I've felt into Okada in a while. Like, he goes out there, he's gonna have a 4.5-star match because that's what Okada does. But we've been missing this. Feels like it's been years since I've felt any kind of emotional investment in Okada. And yeah, they took me by surprise with this.
Yeah, it shocked me because he goes off on the dude, and then it's not even just that. It's then the clip of him walking backstage, and the guy's filming him, and Okada's just yelling and screaming, and my Japanese is a little rusty, but Okada cussing. That's the Okada I need. More swear words coming out of Okada's mouth, because he seemed jacked. The whole Twitter, people who did tune in to watch this, people are like, is this real? Is this Okada's actually mad? No, he's just really good at selling a match that you're going to want to watch because they've now announced this match.
They've announced it for what? Keiji Muto's last match, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think a lot of people are going to want to watch that match now. This was someone who was not on my radar, and as soon as you kick Okada in the face and he's mad about it, I instantly know who you are now. So I'm interested in this match for sure.
Benno, what was there anything else on that show that kind of stood out? Because we haven't had time with our work schedules and stuff to watch it yet. But any kind of recommendations? It definitely seemed a bit more interesting than last year's, which was all just 6-man, 8-man tags.
Yeah, they put a bit more effort in this year. That felt like the biggest talking point. That and the fact that we're getting a singles match out of it as well, the Noah champion versus the New Japan champion, like that should probably happen on a card like this, but the Muta show is a good place to do it as well. But yeah, that's the main thing. I think the big, the matches they had towards the end of the show, the singles matches, which were all Congo versus LIJ. That was a fun series. Like, this was genuinely a good show. I don't like the rehashing of the Wrestle Kingdom name. It feels a bit like what AAA do, where there's 8 Triple Manias in a year now. You probably
WrestleMania Backlash.
Yeah, it's the same thing. They've taken that idea, and it wasn't really Wrestle Kingdom, but this was New Japan. It felt like, again, like Wrestle Kingdom did this year, a real New Japan card with a decent crowd who could chant a little bit and be a little bit more lively, and it really worked out well. I think the biggest takeaways are the expected ones, the two big, the semi-main and the main events. Like Shingo and Nakajima was really good. There's been points on GRAPPL where we've gotten into Noah a little bit, mainly Gareth and JP over the last couple of years, and Noah almost always punish you because you'll get behind a Nakajima or a Kitamiya or any of these guys, Kiyomiya. You'll get into any of them, and then they'll end up putting the belts on Muta. Like, I wouldn't put it past them between now and that retirement show for him to somehow be world champion again, because you can't trust Noah. But seeing these like young guys who've got so much promise, who should be the top guys in Noah, in these top slots against the New Japan equivalents, was really good. And yeah, Shingo and Nakajima was an awesome, I'd say 4.25 star semi-minute, went about 20 minutes, loads of great offense from Shingo, just a great hard-hitting match I'd recommend. And Naito and Keno, I don't think was quite to the level of that one, but was a very good main event, and it was just fun to see Naito against somebody who's not from the New Japan system, in Keno, to see against somebody that it feels like it shouldn't be real, seeing these two guys from these two different companies go back and forth with their respective styles. So it was worth it just for that, the novelty of that, really. But those two big matches definitely delivered, and it felt like a lively show. It felt like it did at Wrestle Kingdom on January 4th. That maybe, say it quietly, New Japan might be back, but I guess we'll see.
New Japan is back. You said Noah can sometimes punish you. Is it because you watch it with English commentary? Because they definitely punish me when I watch.
I was ahead of the curve.
Champion Shinsuke Nakamura.
Next, unbelievable.
The half Boston Crab by Sting.
Oh,
terrible.
Yeah. That's the problem. You get if the commentary is English, people will just call it 5-star commentary without we're not really criticizing it like you will anything else. It's always good. You've got English commentary. That's a good start. It can be the worst commentator in the world. It can be Chris Charlton, and I'm okay with it. But like, it's shots at Chris Charlton. But it's like, I think. Yeah, those guys have always sucked.
You're turning into Bret Hart with Goldberg, Benno.
I throw him in over them,
I don't know.
Still the GRAPPL.
I don't really know much about the Noah commentary, but I will let people know that you can go to postwrestling.com and get yourself a brand new 5 Pillars shirt available. And shout out WH Park. But yeah, I feel like this is the most Noah I've ever watched, not including the arc, because I watched Bye Bye Muta. And what was I doing? I was out, and I came home, and it was like 4 a.m. And I messaged in one of our group chats, and I'm like, "Hey, isn't Muta like wrestling right now?" And someone said, "Yeah, he's literally making his entrance." So I'm like, "Davie, quick! I know it's 4 something in the morning, but quick, put on that show." So we tuned in like at the very last second to catch Bye Bye Muta, which was
perfect timing.
We turned it on as Hakushi was making his entrance, which I was like, sorry, I forgot, Hakushi's wrestling, and he's going by Hakushi, and he's using the Hakushi music as well.
Look terrifying.
Yeah, those are all real tattoos, right?
For sure.
Get that guy on the Raw anniversary or in the Rumble.
Yeah, that would be sick. Have a Bret Hart Hakushi standoff.
So this was Sting, Darby, and the Great Muta against Hakushi. Who else? Akira. I didn't know who that was. And
I'm confused because I went to an indie show a little while ago. Yeah.
Oh, Marufuji.
Yeah, sorry, Marufuji. Yeah, I went to an indie show like a few months ago, and there was a wrestler named Akira, but I'm pretty sure it was a white guy. So I was like a little confused. And then I'm watching this and they said this guy was Akira. So I was like, oh, it must be the same guy. But then I'm looking at him and I'm like, that's definitely not the same guy. So sorry for I was not aware of who this guy was. He was wearing face paint and everyone in this match was fucking wearing face paint. So I was like, you fit in, man. I guess.
This match wasn't good.
This was a lot of fun though. We recently did a show with WH talking about all the best of Great Muta, so I'm definitely in the Muta mood. So it was cool. I will say I was teased though. This is all spooky gimmick shit, right? So we got, which is again really cool to see Darby Allin and Sting, wrestling with the Great Muta. However, when Sting goes to make his entrance, they teased us with a Surfer Sting entrance. And then it just cuts and it's like, nah, it's Sting in a t-shirt.
Francesco Akira.
Interesting.
Akira, no, sorry, is the white guy. Akira is the Japanese dude with the face paint. Got you. So you saw Francesco Akira.
Yeah. Okay, that
whereas this was just
more of a white guy thing. Yeah. Okay, makes more sense. Also a big fan of the movie Akira. I thought this was a lot of fun. I was also worried for Great Kabuki in the entrance. It looked like he was couldn't even get in the ring. Good thing he wasn't wrestling, but this was what it was. I'm trying to think, comparing it to the Ric Flair thing. This guy's doing a whole tour. Ric Flair did you said 20 years of retirement tour.
Yeah.
But it was fun to see Darby Allin and Marufuji face to face. Sting and Marufuji face to face. Hakushi and Darby Allin killing each other. Sting sending Hakushi flying off the ramp. That was a cool spot of the match.
Muta just stabbing Hakushi in the face with a
piece of wood.
After the match, and Sting and Darby are like, that's just crazy old Muta. The baby face is just letting him stab this man in the head.
Yeah. You love to see it.
It felt, I don't know, it felt to me, I wouldn't have known it was a retirement match unless you told me. Sure, he's doing the Keiji Muto stuff, but I don't know, I was expecting maybe a moment him taking off the mask at the end or something, some sort of retirement. It felt a little anticlimactic to me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess because he's still got one more match where he's gonna...
Yeah, but something retiring that...
The matches of Muto, isn't it? But I think that is the clue that he's going to be at the Rumble as well.
Maybe. Yeah,
maybe that's why he didn't take the mask off. I enjoyed someone took a great photo where he sends... It looked like Sting and Darby were helping him walk, the poor guy. And Muta's like, no, leave me alone. I need my ramp spot here. And he spits the mist. And someone got a great photo I saw today on Twitter and Instagram where he's spitting it. And just because of the photo, it made a heart.
Oh,
the way he spit. So you just love to see a nice heart in my wrestling. You know what? This it was ridiculous that this was a match.
On the New Japan show, Kevin Kelly's commentary, he was just burying Muta the entire night. It was brilliant. Muta was sat by them as well doing Japanese commentary, and Kevin Kelly's like, "Oh, he needs the spotlight, doesn't he? Oh, here he comes again. Oh, he's getting his match with Naito, is he? Oh, he's never going to retire. He's going to have 12 more matches." Just burying him doing stand up. It was brilliant.
Well, there was JR on Rampage last week as well when Excalibur's saying about and Sting and Darby are going to be in this match, and he's like, is it though? Is it his last match? Is it really? Okay.
JR, you're not one. All your friends do the same shit, JR. Yeah. I don't know. Well, former friends. I don't know. I've heard Ric Flair not say some nice things about JR. You know what? It was weird. Like I said, we both came home after the bar at 4 a.m. I'm like, fuck, the Great Muta's retiring. Yeah, all right, throw it on. So it does feel like I wasn't even maybe awake, but it was funny to see some of the characters it felt like we were playing a video game with your Darby, your Marufuji and Sting and stuff like that.
And a good chance to plug once again, patreon.com/Poisonrana. We have dropped just yesterday our best match ever, the Great Muta with WH Park. Which really fun show.
Man, it was awesome. One of the best shows we've done in a while because WH made this list of just some sweet matches that I've never seen. And we discussed the Mist, the origin of the Mists and different wrestlers. We also discussed the Muta scale.
Yes.
Which was just a lot of fun. So, bye-bye Muta.
Always great chatting to WH. Just
wild man.
Just don't give him any weed.
Good thing we recorded. We recorded before I gave him a hoot. And then when he had one puff, this guy turned into fucking...
He turned into his Muta. His other puff.
Yeah. WH took one puff of some gelato.
He's putting the face paint on.
Yeah. He was going next level. So, he won't listen to this. It's fine.
I had a very similar experience with WH in New York with a mojito, which didn't end well. But
one mojito.
WH, if he ever does listen, we love him.
WH took one puff of my joint and he was hanging on our ceiling fan, spinning around. He was going through our fridge. He was
sending messages, I believe. I heard he was in some DMs.
Oh, man. You know you're in trouble when WH is sending
DMs. In your DMs. All good stuff, though. All good stuff. Nothing to worry about. We've got one more thing here, and we'll go through this quickly. We kind of already mentioned it. Dana White's Power Slap.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
had its debut and just absolutely tanked in ratings. And good riddance.
I'll say what I said earlier. Make sure if you're an American who uses TBS, make sure when you're done watching Dynamite to change the channel. I don't know, Flavor Town or something instead. Yeah. Just make sure.
I remember the pure days of slap fighting back in the pandemic. Over on GRAPPL, we were watching these Polish and Russian lads slap each other live on Fight as Matt Striker and Vampiro did the commentary. Completely if you ever, the way Matt Striker just bullshits facts anyway, he was just making things up on commentary for that. And there was an enjoyment we got out of that. It felt pure. It felt like not ours. It felt like a window into a world we didn't know. And now Dana White has just sullied the good name of slap fighting.
How do you win it? Like, I've never watched it and I'm not going to. Do you just win by knockout or quitting?
Knockout, knockout, ref stoppage. Seemed to change the mind.
TKO, decision.
Right.
I mean,
it's not gonna last.
It's not. It's something that you have attention for like 30 seconds. That you're like, okay, a guy got slapped. So it's like to sit there and watch a whole thing. Also, it's like some of these people are getting hurt in these slaps, and it's just like, so it's kind of stupid. It's like, what next would you take this? Like, okay, let's start, like, remember all those movies? I'm thinking of Stone Cold in one of those movies, kind of like Battle Royale, where, all right, we're gonna put people on an island, they're all gonna kill each other, and the winner's the winner. Like, are we eventually just gonna get to that in real life?
I would argue though, like boxing and MMA,
of course,
they've been around forever, and they're completely like, I'm not saying they're not skilled. There's 100% skill and athleticism to it, but it's barbaric as well when you're hitting each other in the head, and the aim is to knock out your opponent. So
it's a slap. I've never played games with my friends where we're just slapping each other in the face.
Oh, you missed out.
I do remember as a kid though. As a kid, I remember playing rock paper scissors slap, where you just slap each other's hand. That's not in each other's face. And like that would get to the point where people were like, "No, I tap out. My hand is like bleeding because you slapped each other." But like to slap each other in the face, I'm like, come on, it's funny for like 30 seconds and whatever.
Stephanie McMahon is jobless now, and we all know she's got the real power slap, so maybe she could.
I mean, maybe I'm not looking in the right places, but like clearly someone has had to have edited the intro for Power Slap, if they even have one, with the clip of Dana White at New Year's. So like that had to be something that was put together. It's just so funny that this guy's, I shouldn't say funny, it's just so fucked up. This guy's promoting a show about slapping, and right before it comes out, he gets in trouble for slapping. It's just, how can you slap? It's crazy. It's crazy world we live in that this is a show, and I hope it gets canceled. Sorry to say, I'm being blunt, but like, that's how I feel about it.
Well, that's everything on today's agenda.
Wow.
Benno, thank you very much for joining us. This is where we just go into like any other business. I feel we've really ran the gambit of everything today, but where any final words you have, I know you've got to record for another few hours after this. I'm sorry for keeping you late today, but really appreciate you joining us. It's always fun chatting with you.
Yeah, please let the people know what you're doing. What are you going to be recording, and then where people can find you and stuff as well.
Yeah, thank you. If I'm not podcasting, I'm dead. So yeah, this is a normal Sunday for me. So no, I've loved dropping in. Like I'm genuinely like it's great to see you guys' success. I'm massive fan of Up Next and everything you did there. It's great to see you spreading your wings and doing the Poisonrana thing in this show. Like it's a great concept. I'm made up to get on it. So keep doing what you guys are doing, and it's just awesome to see. But yeah, for me, we do a similar show, I guess, Spotlight Mondays for GRAPPL. This week we're on a Tuesday, but we're actually doing a free trial week. We were stupid. We put all our live stuff is behind the Patreon paywall, so the good people of YouTube don't get to see us much. So this week we're going to put that right. So live on the GRAPPL YouTube, you'll be able to watch Spotlight live, free for all, and our weekend show will be live later in the week as well. All of our Patreon daily daily updates are going to be going live on the GRAPPL feed this week as well. We're just doing a full free trial week, so we're trying something new to see how that goes. So yeah, great time to jump in with the GRAPPL podcast. So yeah, just search the word GRAPPL wherever podcasts are sold, and yeah, every 6 months or so you might find me on Post Wrestling doing my yearly contractual British wrestling type stuff, where we don't really talk about British wrestling anymore,
because it's dead.
Gotta justify the hat somehow.
Yeah, I can't recommend you guys enough. I love listening to GRAPPL. I love your the deep cuts you do. Some really interesting one. Just listen to, what was it, Spike Dudley you just did, which was pretty fun. I really like the Chris Masters one you guys did as well. Really enjoy listening to you guys, and encourage, if you enjoy listening to us and you want more podcasts in your life, absolutely check out the lads at GRAPPL.
I mean, if Benno's not enough, you got the best voice in podcasting game, JP.
Oh yeah.
JP's
We've got to do some kind of podcast where it's all four of us. We've said it a few times, but whether that's on Spotlight or something, we've got to do like a versus or something like that where we battle it out.
I'm down.
There's that tag team match. You and JP. I could not play JP. He sounds too good. I'd do anything he says. He's so I'd be swoon.
He's got the Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah, like, he'll just mind trick you with his beautiful voice.
The tones of his voice are fantastic. I've told him this many times. Thank you, Benno, so much. This was a lot of fun, and we can't wait to do more with you down the line. 2023, we'll make it happen. We'll get another group show going, because it's always a fun to shoot the shit with you, especially over some topics. We were definitely down in the dumps, feeling sad about Jay Briscoe, but I think we did Jay some justice, talking about some good times, looking back on him, and then of course everything else we did. So thank you so much, Benno, for joining us. Thank you, everyone in the YouTube chat or anyone listening on the podcast feed. Give us a like, a subscribe. All the little things can go such a long way. Retweets, all that stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, we had a good show out today. Thank you, Branavan. Shout out Jake. Shout out Chris Elliott. Shout out Cool Gang Big B Detroit. Yes. Just listen to What Up Doe with him and John Cena talking everything hip hop. They were talking about the rap nominations in the Grammys. Video games, The Last of Us, the new HBO series, which I'm absolutely loving. That's a free show on this very feed. Go and check that out if you haven't already. Yeah, that dropped on Friday. B Detroit, Bryan was basically called that Swerve was going to start doing this like hip hop thing. So he's been covering that. That's going to drop every month on this free feed. So go check that out with John Cena and B Detroit. Detox is a free show on this feed as well with me and Jordan, where we talk everything but wrestling, so go check that out as well. But you want to hear more, patreon.com/Poisonrana. It's only $5 and you get almost 500 podcasts, retro NXT reviews, movie reviews, pay-per-view reviews. Everything is on there. Go check us out and support your boys, because we are content creators and we would love for you to check out our content. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, Benno, thank you, my good sir, my good lad. Thank you, everyone out there, for listening. That's it. That's all. At Poisonrana Pod, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. Take care. Goodbye. Be safe and reach for the sky, boy.
Rest in peace, Jay Briscoe.
Poisonrana.